Radio.
Urban Praise.
Radio Moody.
The Praise and Worship Channel.
Southern Gospel Radio.
Our streaming stations. Another way that God uses Moody to help you take your next step in your walk with Christ. Find our streaming stations on the Moody Radio app, Ask Alexa, or at moodyradio.org.
Each year, on one day, believers around the world raise the flag for those who have no access to the gospel. A third of humanity, a third of us, are cut off from the good news of Jesus Christ. The International Day for the Unreached is coming soon, and Moody Radio wants you to know about the plight of the unreached. Join us for the Moody Radio special, Until All Here. Our hosts, Ruth Kramer and John Fugler, will talk with authors Marv Newell and Greg Kelly and other guests who are taking the gospel to those who have never heard. You'll hear powerful stories, and we'll also take your calls. God is on the move. These are urgent times. Your heart will burn for the unreached when you join us for the Moody Radio special, Until All Here, presented by the Alliance for the Unreached, in preparation for the International Day for the Unreached.
Tune in Saturday, May 31st from 6 to 8 p.m.
Hi there, I'm Andy Napier. Welcome to Footsteps from TWR. Get ready for an amazing story. Longtime TWR veteran Bill Mile joins us, and today, Bill, I want you to take us to Brazil.
Down in a Baptist church in Sao Paulo, the church decided to send a youth team one summer up into the Amazon to just do evangelism, door to door. So these two guys were going along this dirt road, and it was almost the end of the day, and the one guy said, I'm really tired. Let's go home. And the other fellow said, well, you see, there's a curve in the road. Let's go around the bend, and if there are no more houses, we'll go back. But otherwise, let's see. So they went around the bend, and sure enough, there was one house. So they went to the front gate, and typical Brazilian style, they clapped their hands. And a lady came out, and they started to share the gospel with her. And right in the middle of this presentation, she turned around and went back into the house, shouting to her husband, they've come, they've come. And these guys are looking at each other saying, what in the world is she talking about? What do you mean we've come? So she came back out, and they said, excuse us, but what did you mean we've come, we've come? She said, we heard the gospel from Transworld Radio Bonaire, and we accepted Jesus as our Savior. We've been praying ever since then that God would send somebody to us to tell us more about the Word of God. So she said, we knew you were coming. We just didn't know when it was going to be.
What a story of God's faithfulness. He saved this couple in the Amazon, and he certainly didn't forget them. To learn more about TWR's outreach from Bonaire, go to twr.org/footsteps.
Footsteps is a production of TWR.
It's Mornings with Brian, live from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studio. Whether it's your faith or your health, you don't have to journey alone. WCRF, Cleveland. WVMS, Sandusky. WVML, Millersburg. WVMN, Newcastle. WVME, Meadville. WVMU, Ashtabula. And with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
Florida is now the second state to ban fluoride in public water. It's 6 o'clock. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. Governor Ron DeSantis signed the legislation known as the Florida Farm Bill yesterday. It doesn't mention the word fluoride, but bans it by not allowing the use of certain additives in a water system. Utah became the first state to ban the chemical compound from public water back in March. The Cuyahoga County Board of Elections is moving this weekend. The board is moving their equipment, staff, and operations from the current location on Euclid Avenue to the former home of the Cleveland Plain Dealer near East 18th and Superior. And Akron City Council will meet in special session today. The meeting, called by Mayor Shamus Malik and City Council President Margot Somerville, is reportedly for the purposes of reviewing information collected during contract negotiations between the city and the union representing Akron Police. In sports, The Athletic reports that former NFL defensive back and Fremont, Ohio native Charles Woodson plans to buy a 0.1% stake in the Browns. And the WNBA tips off the regular season tonight with 3 games. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Mostly cloudy with a chance of showers and thunderstorms early. Then mostly sunny with a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. Highs in the lower 80s. And at last check, we personally right here in our Brecksville studios, we've got a gully washer going on. But it says cloudy and 65 in Cleveland. Akron and Canton, cloudy 72. Ashtabula reporting a thunderstorm and 62 degrees.
It's time for your moron moment.
National Do Something Good for Your Neighbor Day is celebrated on May 16th to express gratitude to those who are closest to us. After all, Jesus said, "Love thy neighbor." In fact, a neighbor is not merely the person who lives closest to you, but can be anyone with whom you share a kinship. Therefore, your colleagues, friends, fellow commuters also qualify as your neighbors. So do something good for them today. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 6:02. With Moody Radio News, I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcasting live from the Bob Divine Studio.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
It's Follow-Up Friday. Woo! Listen, we did it together.
Look
It's
at
Ron
you
Eastwood.
guys. You're twins practically.
Yeah, we can go home now. The show's complete.
Now, Ron Eastwood got me excited this morning because he used a specific phrase you don't hear very often about the rain outside.
Yeah, he said it was like a swally or something.
Gully washer.
Yes,
A gully washer. I thought you two would love that. Did you love it?
Well, obviously I didn't quite hear it right, so.
You're like, it was a
swolly-gosher.
Swally gosher.
swally wallop. It was a gully washer. That's great.
And it was. I
Yeah.
mean, you could hear the rumbling,
yeah.
and I went out front to check the door, and it was just pouring.
Yeah, I thought I was really tired walking out of my house, and I had one of those moments where I saw a flash, and I thought, was I blinking really slow? Is the electricity in my house and the exterior lights flashing, or is
Right.
there lightning? It took me a minute to realize. I thought at first I was like, "Wow, I'm tired.
lightning.
I am blinking slow," and then it was lightning. So,
Yeah.
you ever had that where you were like, "Am I blinking funny?"
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, it's not just me.
I mean, usually blinking makes things dark, so I don't know why you would associate lightning with blinking.
Well, a flash, like if the lights were did they just flash on, off and on? Did they flash brighter? I don't know. I'm blinking really slow. I can't tell. You've never had that?
No.
Like the lights flash at the house sometimes.
Yeah, but I know it's either lightning or my power just surged.
You don't think it was like you blinking slow? Wow.
No.
Okay. If you listened yesterday, I was talking about how excited I was that my wife cut her bangs.
Yes.
And I mean, she hasn't done something like that in many, many years. And it was impulsive, but it looks beautiful. And I told her that you all said that Daria said, I get to say it once. And Lauren was like, yes, that's correct.
Yeah,
you can
8
say
to
that
9
looks
times is
nice
too many.
once.
Yeah.
Ron was with me in the injustice of that.
Oh, jeez.
Yes. Every time you're moved by her beauty, you should be free to compliment her.
I think that's right. I like that. I like that entire framework.
Yeah.
Oh, how's your wife feel about that?
Yeah, what'd she say?
Well, I thought you were talking about
No.
his wife.
Oh, yeah.
No, you, Brian.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so
What'd she say?
I changed strategy yesterday. I mean, she was like, "See, I told you," or something like that about you two. But
Yes,
it doesn't
no,
mean
she-
it's correct.
She gets it. Excuse me.
What? If it's about your wife, it is correct because it's about
That's
her.
her preferences.
She's allowed to speak about herself.
Ron
What do
and
you
I are
mean?
just trying to figure
Don't
out.
even get me started on that.
No, Ron and I are trying to figure out the logic of you're supposed to encourage one another, said God, you know.
Yeah. And how many times
Quit trying to
does
logic it. This is
a
just how we
woman
feel.
in general, or your wife in
Pre-trunk.
particular, yours or mine, look in the mirror and you overhear them say, I guess that's the best I can do, or I'll make do with what God gave me, but, you know.
Yeah, I usually say that's as good as it's going to get today.
Yeah, something derogatory about their own looks. And so we're trying to build them up because in my mind, my wife is beautiful. And
why can't I tell her?
Yeah.
Because she said
You can tell
she
her.
only
I
wants
just
you to
don't
do it the once.
don't think she wants you to gush continuously.
But what if I feel that way?
It's about her and she asked you to do it once.
What? Nothing's about me ever.
This is about her and she asked you to do it once.
If you
I changed my strategy yesterday.
if you have decided you need more compliments, you can say, Sarah, I would
He's-
like more
No,
compliments.
that's not at all what I'm
Brian
fishing
does-
for.
No, but
Brian wants more
when
compliments.
it
I mean,
comes
I
to
do,
her
but-
being complimented, she gets to set the terms.
Brian wants more compliments.
But that's not why I was doing it. I
Brian
was
can
not
never
fishing.
have enough compliments.
I was not fishing. But I changed my strategy yesterday.
Okay.
She came home from work, and
Her bangs were cute.
I thought about it, and then I said, after a few minutes, I'm working really hard not to talk about how nice your bangs look.
You said that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what? How did she respond?
She didn't like that. And then
Nice try, though.
and then like 2 or 3 more times throughout the day, I was like, she's like, what? I go, I'm working hard right now. I'm trying not to say anything.
This is worse, actually.
Trying
what
not to
you're
say
doing,
anything.
Your strategy change, worse.
Why is that worse?
It just is.
Because now you're making her feel guilty for not wanting you to barrage her with compliments.
Meanwhile, I bet there's someone weeping right now going, oh, I wish my husband was like Ron and Brian. They want to tell me how beautiful I am. They never say anything.
Yes.
You know,
This ungrateful woman.
Different women like different things, and that's okay. We are all different. God made us in a variety of ways. That is okay.
I feel like Jimmy says lots of really nice things.
He does, and it drives me nuts.
He's one of us.
Nah, I knew it.
One of us. One of us.
I knew it. Now, I'm not going to claim, I think Eddie thinks it a lot. He just doesn't say it a lot.
No.
Because he doesn't say a lot.
He's a man of few words.
But he probably thinks it.
I don't know. I'm not in his brain. You can have to ask him that.
So how did you come up with this quota system? If you're not regulating the words around you.
Okay, you know how hard it is to compliment me,
I'm nervous
even
now.
Out like as a friend at work.
Yeah, you make it very difficult.
So imagine how much more increased it is for my husband.
I told Lauren her hair looks nice today. It's up in a ponytail. She's like, oh, dirty hair day.
I did.
Lauren Cuevas, you said you were going to start saying thank you when people say nice things.
Yes.
She might have said thank you, but then she had to say
you gotta
dirty
claim.
hair day.
You got to claim.
Yeah, my wife does stuff like that too. It's like, you don't have to bring up something negative about my compliment. I really like your hair. Oh, I didn't do it. Oh, I didn't ask about that.
Well, I didn't say, did you do it?
You didn't need to do it because it looks good.
Yeah, right. Well, why would I lie about that? Right. I'm a Christian. I'm not a liar. Okay. So today, I guess, what do I just think it privately?
You can say it. I think you get once per day.
Yeah,
or
once a day.
If you see her, doing it, fixing it up, you can say it looks nice. But the barrage, I think, is what's irritating her.
Okay, once per day. All right. So can I do a really prolonged discourse once per day?
Classic.
Well, if I get one shot, I might as well nail it. I might as well really go for it.
How do I love thy new haircut? Let me count the ways.
That's great. Yeah, I could come up with like a whole poem. I could write her a letter once a day.
No.
You could write one letter a day.
One letter a day. I don't want to. That's a lot of work. I don't want to write a letter.
No, you're a words man.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to speak it instead. All right, we've resolved this. We haven't, have we?
I don't know. Are you going to stop? Or
I'm still offended that Daria does not subscribe to the Billy Joel philosophy, even though she loves Billy Joel.
You can tell her once.
Tell her about it.
Then she needs you to stop.
That's not how the song goes.
That's how I interpret it.
That's not.
Maybe we need to rewrite it. Tell her about it one time.
It says every day before
Just
you leave.
once.
That's just the one time.
every day, just before you leave. Not when you get home, when you see her around the corner. When
I need
she
to
comes
look at
outside.
the lyrics. I feel like he's bringing it up multiple times. If you love her, tell her about it. It's not, if I told you when we got married, so you better remember it. Billy Joel. Philosophy. Let's call Billy. Let's get him to solve this.
Let me just get him on. He's on my speed dial.
Our new feature. Ask Billy.
Yeah, well, he's a philosophy guy. Okay. Follow-up Friday is a fun day where we look back at the week, see what it is we've talked about. We have plenty of topics to revisit. In fact, we've got pages of comments from you. I went through, and there are some really great comments, like usual. But we would rather yield the show to you and what you want to talk about right now. Maybe you've got a question about the Bible and faith. Maybe you've got a personal issue you want to resolve. Maybe you heard Ron say something, and you're like, nothing more intelligent has ever been said. Let's all celebrate it together. You could call or text, disagree with us, add a new topic, say, you didn't talk about this from the news. Why did you ignore this? What's wrong with you? 440-546-2255, 440-546-2255.
The world is changing fast. AI, global crises, and shifting cultural landscapes are shaping future generations in ways that are hard to imagine. The question isn't if change is coming. The question is, how will we respond? Join Moody Bible Institute this May in Chicago for Future Church, preaching and leading the next generation. This powerful conference will equip you with dynamic preaching methods and cutting-edge leadership strategies to reach that next generation. Register now at moodyconferences.com. That's moodyconferences.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management. I'm Claire from Trinity Debt Management. I'm a counselor, and the reason that I love working for Trinity is because I get to help folks with one of the hardest problems a family can face, and that's financial difficulties. In this day and age, everything is going up. You have higher utilities, higher grocery bills, higher fuel, and those credit card interest rates have gone up as well. We can help you with that. We can help you get lower interest rates, lower monthly payments. In just a few minutes, we put together a plan that gets you out of debt and keeps you out of debt. I love my job. It's a great program and a very smart way to find debt relief.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-659-9838.
I'm Claire, a Trinity counselor. Call me and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-659-9838.
Pour another cup of coffee and settle in for engaging, Christ-centered conversations. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
On WCRF on a follow-up Friday. We already have our first topic submitted by not just a text, a first-time texter. Woo! Thank you for reaching out for the first
Yay!
time. When people reach out for the first time, we get very excited, and we get so excited when people reach out for the first time by call or text that we send them free things.
That's right. So, Terry, we're going to send you something. I'll get your email offline here.
And to be specific, it's not just a random free thing like this paperclip I have right here.
Oh, I put together a nice little package of stuff.
Like branded things for the show, right?
Mornings with Brian mugs. We got a whole bunch of odds and ends back there I throw in, whatever I can fit in the package.
We used to have nail files.
That's gross.
Well, not used. They were new.
Yeah, obviously.
I mean, it'd be gross if they were
Until
used.
someone's standing there at the table bored, just kind of using it and forgets to take it and
Forgets.
puts it back.
Yeah.
Last night we were at small group and there was snacks in the middle. We were sitting outside in a circle.
Cute.
And my son Ellis is 1.5 and he kept coming to grab chips. Well, I didn't realize he would take a bite and put them back in the bowl.
Uh-oh.
Someone was like, watch your chip. If it's a little soggy, maybe throw it out.
Oh, no.
That's such a cute little kid thing to do. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, it's like what it's Seinfeld had a whole episode on double dipping. But that's not even double dipping. That's taking
taking a bite and putting it back.
And putting it back. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I wasn't paying attention as much because he was fine. And then I saw someone laughing and I was like, did he just put a chip back in? Like, yeah, he did.
He wants to try
Sorry.
each individual chip to make sure they all taste the same.
Yeah, got to check on the chips.
My oldest son did something similar once where we had family coming into town. They were trying to find a bakery. Couldn't find one, but we were right near a neighborhood that was primarily Latino, and there was a Mexican bakery. So they grabbed a bunch of different types of Mexican pastries, and they brought them in. And while we weren't looking, my son took one bite of every single one.
Before you bought them?
No. Like,
Oh.
we put them out on a plate, and we're chatting, and then we turn around, and every single pastry has a bite out of it. Thanks, son.
I could see that.
So you're not alone. Okay. We had our first text. What is the
Yes.
question?
Can God change his mind? Explain Luke 18, 1-8, the parable from Jesus about not giving up on prayer. That came from a discussion earlier this week about prayer. The article was from C.S. Lewis, and he basically said, you can't find scientific evidence of cause and effect of prayer, where I prayed and therefore this happened. This happened because I prayed. There's not like a scientific evidence for that.
Prove it wasn't going to happen regardless of whether you prayed or not.
Right. And so I started talking about how prayer is, we are asking God to align our hearts with his will because God can't change his mind. Why? Well, God is perfect. He's already outlined how the world and the happenings of the world are going to happen. And he's perfect, therefore something can't be improved upon. If it's perfect, there is no improvements. And so you can't improve upon something that's perfect. God can't change his mind because he can't get better. He is already perfect.
So there'd be no need to change one's mind.
Right, because it's already the perfect plan. Because God's perfect. So I'm going to read Luke 18, 1-8, which is their question. It's the parable of the persistent widow. One day, Jesus told his disciples a story to show that they should always pray and never give up. There was a judge in a certain city, he said, who neither feared God nor cared about people. A widow of that city came to him repeatedly, saying, "Give me the justice in this dispute with my enemy." The judge ignored her for a while, but finally he said to himself, "I don't fear God or care about people, but this woman is driving me crazy. I'm going to see that she gets justice because she is wearing me out with her constant requests." Then the Lord said, "Learn a lesson from this unjust judge. Even he rendered a just decision in the end. So don't you think that God will surely give you justice to his chosen people who cry out to him day and night? Will he keep putting them off? I tell you, he will grant justice to them quickly. But when the Son of Man returns, how many will he find on earth who have faith?" Thoughts? Team?
Yeah, that I interpret that as being about God not forgetting his chosen people, even though they're going to have to wait for a long time, because he's still going to deliver justice to the people of Israel. Although I can understand why you would interpret that as God changing his mind through prayer.
Yeah, and for me, it's more of a, God is gonna give you justice in his perfect timing, in his perfect way. Even this guy who hates God is
and people.
will do that. Why would you think God wouldn't?
Who is just and does care about people.
Right. Not that God changed his mind about it, and that if you pester him long enough, he'll change his mind. The point, it's not comparing that guy to God as parallels and like equals. It's saying even that guy would do the right thing. Why wouldn't God?
For me, the Bible verse that comes to mind when I think about, does God change his mind, is actually story of Moses after he was called on his way to Egypt. And God comes in the night to kill Moses because he had not circumcised his son. His wife then does it, and God seems to change his mind, backs off, and decides he's not going to kill Moses.
And then there's also the circumstance where Abraham begs God multiple times, please don't murder everybody. And Moses is like, well, what if there's this many people left?
Seeming to bargain with him.
Yeah, and it looks like then God is changing his mind. No, he's not.
Yeah, God can use our prayers. He can ordain our prayers because he's God. He can ordain things in time and space. He ordains our prayers to show us that he is faithful, that he's gracious, and that he has a plan for us. He can ordain us to pray for things so that he can then show himself to be faithful.
Yeah, and that's the mind bender for a human, right? It's the idea that in his infinite plan, his perfect plan involved you asking him for it and him teaching you a lesson in the asking. But he knew what you were going to ask for, how many times you were going to ask it, and he knew what the outcome was going to be. And so he's almost humoring you to teach you something. Right? Is that how you describe it?
Well, I don't know if I'd say God is humoring me, but another question that comes up is, if God changes his mind, like back and forth between how people pray, whose prayers are you going to listen to?
Right.
Yeah, and that's the problematic thing C.S. Lewis brought up, and I didn't have time to get to. It's that the consequence of that is pretty troubling.
Yeah.
That means God plays favorites.
Right.
In some pretty horrific ways, wicked ways, like my mom has cancer, so does your mom, but he healed mine, not yours, because I'm his favorite? No. I don't think we want to go down that road. That's kind of what you're saying, right?
Yeah, or like if two people have different thoughts about some particular circumstance and they're both praying different things for that circumstance, who's he going to choose?
Yeah.
I don't think that we want a God who changes his mind like willy-nilly and is just like changed by whatever breeze there is in the wind.
Like some gully washer will change his mind or something.
Then he's no better than an elected leader who's completely swayed by what's going to get him the next vote.
Yeah, the passage in Luke that I just read, that parable, it's not saying that God is that judge, because very, very particularly it says he is an unjust judge. That is not God.
God uses that a couple of times. He'll use like the lowest common denominator and say, if flawed people can do this, won't God do even better?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a funny story if you read it the way Jesus told it.
Yeah, he's an unjust judge. He doesn't even like people, but he's like, fine, I'll give her justice because she's annoying.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
And he's saying, if this unjust judge who is annoyed by people, he hates people, is willing to give justice to someone, why would you not think that God, who loves you and deeply cares about you and is just, wouldn't give you something?
That's correct.
It's not to show that if you pray enough, I'm going to change my mind. It's to show that why don't you trust God to give you justice when he loves you and he cares about you?
Yeah. Because it's also not saying the person who annoys God the most wins.
No.
Right. Because
he's basically saying God's the opposite of this judge.
That's right.
And if you trust this judge who is unjust and hates people, then you need to trust God, who is the opposite and better and more perfect judge.
But this also, I think, hangs on the larger issue of we have a hard time with the mystery of God and his bigness, which isn't even, I feel bad even describing it that way because it sounds so dumb compared to the reality of it. And I'm just kind of a simplistic person in this way, but the first time I read the passage where the Lord said, heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool, what kind of house are you going to build for me? That solved it for me. The mysteries of God. Like he goes, I'm so big, I put my feet up on the entire earth. Who do you think you are trying to figure all that out? You can't do that. And so when I encounter something that doesn't seem to make not like logical sense, but like godly infinite sense, I kind of go, that's something that the Lord's got figured out and I can't possibly figure it out. As in The scripture makes it pretty clear that we have free will and he has predestined. And those two things seem opposite. Mercy and justice seem to walk in opposition to each other. But in God's economy, they work perfectly together. I don't get that. He does. So there. I mean, like,
exactly.
It's like Michael Rydell. Like, forget about it. I don't know. God's got that figured. I don't.
Yeah, we should find comfort in knowing that there are things we don't know.
Yes.
Because if we knew everything that God did, well, then he's not God. We're all our own gods if we all know everything. And I know it seems like there's passages that you guys brought up about Moses and Abraham and this one in Luke. Someone brought up 1 Chronicles 21. I know it feels like and it seems like and it reads like God is changing his mind, but it is against the character of God to change. He is unchanging because he's perfect. He can't change. To change is to improve upon, and God cannot be improved upon.
Could it also be that we sometimes miss the poetic examples the Lord uses to help us understand things?
Yeah, and there's just some things that aren't going to quite make sense because we have sinful minds, like we have a fallen body, sinful minds, and we're not God, so there's just stuff we don't quite understand.
Yeah. I always think, too, of when Jesus talks about as a hen gathers her chicks. He's not saying he's a female chicken. Like at his core. He's not saying that chickens and humans are equal. He's using a figure of speech to help us understand, just like the unjust judge or the just judge or whatever it's called.
He's the unjust judge, yeah.
Yeah. I hope that helps. Such a great question. That's somebody who's wrestling with understanding who God is in their faith, and that's what we're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestle with him. Try to understand him. But at the end of the day, there are things in which you're going to have to go, Lord, do you understand this? I don't. And I trust you and love you anyway. It's 6:33. We're up against a quick break to pause for prayer. When we come back, more Follow-Up Friday. What do you want to talk about? 440-546-2255.
I'm Barb Karayan, and this is Pause for Prayer. You may have seen short videos of parents who sit with their toddler at a table in front of covered plates. When uncovered, the toddler's plate has 2 cookies, while the dad's has 1 cookie and the mom's has 0. They wait to see the reaction of the child, and many of the little tots hilariously struggle to give away their second cookie. In Luke 6, it says, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you." Would you pray with me? Heavenly Father, these videos are funny to watch because we all relate to them, for at times we struggle to give in our abundance to others who have none. Forgive us, Lord, that we are often solely focused on our own wants and needs. We thank you, Jesus, that you set the example as a sacrificial giver. You loved us first. You died for us when we were your enemies. Every breath we take is a gift from you. In fact, every good and perfect gift that we have received or own is from you. Lord, help us. Remind us to be better givers, to notice the needs of others around us, to recognize and remember how you and others have been generous to us, and be willing to reflect that same generosity. Yet there is a part in us, like those toddlers, that doesn't want to let go of our second cookie. With so much need in our world, God, show us how to use our resources wisely, knowing that you give and you take away. Blessed be your name. Would you lead us and prompt us to give, maybe at times sacrificially? Show us where our giving can make a difference in people's lives for your kingdom. And though we are often blessed as we give, Lord, may our heart's desire be to please you, as we can only give what you first gave us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Downloading Moody Radio, from the Word to Life.
Here's hope, encouragement, and truth. Anytime, anywhere. Download the Moody Radio app today. Stream your favorite local Moody radio station live. Dive into our other Christian streaming music stations. And catch up with your favorite on-demand programs whenever it fits your schedule. Faith-filled content wherever life takes you.
The Moody Radio app.
Anytime, anywhere. Download it now on iOS or Android.
Every day, thousands of children and families face hunger, poverty, and hardship.
For 75 years, World Vision has been following Jesus and serving the poor, believing in a world where children are free from poverty and equipped to reach their God-given potential. And you can be part of this work, helping children and families gain access to essentials like clean water, education, healthcare, and nutritious food. Discover how you can show Jesus' love to children in need by visiting worldvision.org/radio.
Good morning, Cleveland. Thanks for choosing us to help you start your day. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
It's Mornings with Brian from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studios, Christian counseling for adults, couples, children, and families. North Coast Family Foundation. It's 6:40. It's Follow-Up Friday, 440-546-2255. Had a great question from a brand new listener about a discussion we had earlier this week it was technically called The Efficacy of Prayer. C.S. Lewis wrote an article in The Atlantic on January 1st, 1959, and we read through it. But really the question he's asking in a more modern sense is, does prayer work?
Yeah.
What I found as a side note to be interesting is that all the comments we got by text seemed to entirely miss the point of the article from C.S. Lewis all those years ago, because people didn't wait till the end.
Okay.
C.S. Lewis was saying you can't empirically prove that cause and effect, as Lauren said earlier, that prayer works. Like, I prayed this, that happened, therefore God did it. Like, you can't scientifically do that. And then people were like, yes, you can. Ah! They were like, yes. But whoa, hold on. Yeah, wait. C.S. Lewis was saying, while that's true, you're missing the point of what prayer is. Prayer is not a request line. Right. You're not calling the DJ to play your favorite song. The majority of prayer is you communing with the Lord, confessing your sin, thanking Him. There's a little tiny part that's asking for stuff, but if all you're worried about is whether your prayers are working when you ask for stuff, you're missing the point of what prayer actually is, was C.S. Lewis's point. And we were like, yes, that's it. Now, so all that to say, somebody asked us, does God change His mind? Because that's one of the common questions that comes with, does prayer work? Mm-hmm. Like, if I pray long enough and hard enough, will God go, okay, fine? And we said, no, He never changes His mind. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And we've had some other questions come in with that, Lauren.
Yeah, someone said, but what about Exodus 32? God said, I'm going to destroy the Israelites. And Moses pleaded with him, and God said, I will not destroy them. I think that there's a difference between changing His mind and changing His character. I think His sovereign plan will always be accomplished, but our prayers and willingness could make the path zigzag.
So just for clarity, they're saying the destination is always set, but the path is not, and God's up there kind of just responding to
That's what it seems that
requests.
They're saying.
So with the specific instance that you're bringing up, that would actually, if God were to, let's pretend Moses didn't intercede, or he wasn't able to persuade God to not destroy the Israelites. God would have made Himself a liar because He promised that the Messiah would come through the seed of Abraham.
Yeah.
If starting over with Moses is nullifying that promise He'd made to Abraham.
And I mean, if I'm going to oversimplify things, sometimes I take my kids through an exercise to teach a larger lesson, even though I know the outcome. I'm trying to think of a perfectly practical example, but there are times when you let your kids fail so they can learn something.
Right.
And in this case, why couldn't God, and I believe He would, part of His sovereign plan was Moses begging for mercy. For Moses to be reminded of God's plan and to get it more deeply into his heart and trust in the Lord.
Okay.
Like, the idea that the path is not set, but the destination is, I'm quite uncomfortable with that. It's almost like we're back with Greek gods. Like, they have a temperament you must appease, and they're going to, those who are the most penitent are going to get what they want, and then Poseidon's going to drown everybody else. It's
right.
Like, nah. No. I mean, to say that the Lord doesn't know the path, He only knows the destination, is limiting God's omnipotence and His omniscience.
Yeah, because then you're saying God doesn't know all things.
Right.
And He's subject to our whims and our requests.
That's quite scary to think about. A God that's in control of everything but doesn't know where things are going and is subject to whatever His people want.
Yeah, no. Now, I understand why you would ask that, and I understand why you're trying to make sense of something. I get it. Why would He have us ask if He knows what He's going to do? I don't know. He's teaching us something.
I think the asking is more about our heart change and not God's heart change.
Yeah, I personally see the asking as God wanting you to come to the point where you realize you don't have control and you are totally dependent on Him and whatever He's going to do, whether you get what you want or you didn't, you acknowledge and you bring that to God because you say, I can't do anything about this and You're sovereign, but you can.
Yeah, I wonder what this is so common where somebody is totally vexed and sometimes stuck in their faith because of an unanswerable question they just have to have the answer to. And then you meet a guy like Dr. Rydelnik, who's essentially Moody's Bible answer guy. On a regular basis, he goes, I don't know. I don't need to know. God would have told me if I needed to know.
Right.
He's perfectly at peace with who God is and that God's bigger than me and He can't understand everything about Him. I wonder where that battle comes from. It's got to be pride, right? At its core, somebody who will not accept that they can't possibly understand God's mind. Not that God has a mind, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's got to be pride.
It's the first sin.
Yeah.
Believing that you can know all things. believing that God doesn't have your best interest at heart and he's hiding things from you. Don't eat from that tree.
Okay, yeah.
And then the serpent says, you can eat from that tree. He's just scared that you're going to know everything if you eat from that tree. It's the first sin. The first sin of pride is, I can be like God. God's hiding stuff from me. I can be like God, and I can know all things.
So how do we get comfortable with the mystery of the unknowable from a God that transcends, I mean, if you want to get all nerdy, space and time?
Right. Well, you study what you can, and when you bump up against that unknowable portion, you just resign yourself that his ways are higher than mine, his thoughts higher than mine. I can't understand it. I just have to trust. Faith, basically, is the answer.
The person with the Exodus 32 question texted again and said, it's just interesting in the mystery of God. Jesus even asked God to take the cup of the cross from him. So did Jesus ask God to become a liar by changing his mind?
No. But I think it's an expression of Jesus knew it was coming and it was horrible.
It's Jesus' angst.
It's his humanness.
He was experiencing another aspect of what it is to be human.
Yeah.
But
he's distraught.
He
knew that this was the plan. He's God. He knew that this was the plan, and he's not changing the plan. He's human, and he's experiencing anguish and saying, has anyone else except me been like, God, please help me. Please save me from this. Nobody else, just me? Like, please help me.
Yeah, I've been
That's
there.
Jesus' humanness coming out, saying he's in anguish. Jesus can say, God, please help me. Father, please save me. And at the same time, still know that God's plans are right and perfect and true.
Because it was so horrible.
Yeah.
Maybe, too, there was an element of just wanting comfort from his heavenly Father.
Yeah.
Because, the Bible's very explicit that we are going to go through hard times, but, God will still be there with us.
Yeah.
In Jesus' humanness, I don't think that's any different.
No.
Yeah.
And it ends with, nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done.
Correct.
Yeah. Another kind of question with this, just quickly, is I've always had the question about God changing his mind with the new covenant. Why not just have a new covenant in the first place?
You have a good answer to that, like Moody Bible Institute, get your notes out answer.
Well, the new covenant was the plan the whole time. Jesus was the plan the whole time. Jesus is throughout the Old Testament.
So he wasn't surprised when Adam and Eve sinned and humanity was cast into darkness.
Yeah, God wasn't like, oh no, this first covenant, what a mess. I need a new one.
Yeah. Jesus is not a created being. Jesus has been there since the beginning. The Son has been there since the beginning. He is all throughout the Testament, the Old Testament. We see him in messianic prophecies. We see him in throughout the Old Testament. Jesus is there. He is not a created being. Jesus wasn't created for the new covenant. The new covenant is always the plan. The first covenant happened so that people can see and learn, you want to try to follow the law? You want to try to be perfect? Because you decided to sin, so now you have to be perfect to get into a right relationship with me. Why don't you go ahead and try? So that's what the Israelites do for however many hundreds of years. They try and try and try and try to be perfect and fail.
And it's a mess again and again and again and again.
So God's like, see, this is why my plan is better.
Yes.
There it is. All right. 6:49, we're up against a break. More follow-up Friday. We can keep digging into this concept, some of these more difficult questions to ask when it comes to Christian faith. Or perhaps you want to shift gears. 440-546-2255.
Moody Radio is thankful for listeners and support from businesses like Duma Meats and Farm Market. Duma Meats and Farm Market supporting Moody Radio in Cleveland and surrounding areas. More information about Duma Meats and Farm Market is at dumameats.com.
Imagine a world without Christian radio, or churches, or even Bibles. This describes life in many places, like North Korea, parts of the Middle East, and in some areas of Africa. How can we bring the life-changing good news to people closed off from the gospel? Find out what God is already doing and what we can do in days ahead. Join us for the Moody Radio special, Until All Hear.
Tune in Saturday, May 31st from 6 to 8 p.m.
Moody Radio is on the air thanks to the support of listeners and Hawkins Sales. They've been serving our region's electrical industry for over 40 years. More information about Hawkins Sales is at hawkinssales.com.
Pursue your passion toward shepherding, teaching, and ministry leadership with a Master of Divinity from Moody Online. You'll study systematic theology, pastoral practices, develop your skills in preaching and teaching, and be equipped to analyze Scripture through the lens of the original Hebrew and Greek texts. Take classes when and how it's most convenient for you with our flexible online option. Get started today at moody.edu/online.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland from 6 to 9 a.m. Get your coffee in hand. Let's start the day.
$6.51 on a follow-up Friday, 440-546-2255. Some great questions coming in from a new texter about just bigger questions of who God is.
You guys are deep thinkers today. We love it.
Yeah, a good deep thought is good for a Friday morning, let me tell you. Lauren, you've got we've had more come in related to this question of whether or not God changes his mind, the nature of God's knowledge.
Yeah, we have another first-time texter.
Hey! You get free stuff from us. That is specific to the show, not just random free stuff.
Oh, yeah, not random. Does God hear all prayers? I know he is omniscient and can hear and see everything. John 9:31 talks about God not hearing the prayers of the unsaved/sinners. So often I hear people say that they are, quote, praying for you, and it almost feels like it cheapens when a Christian says it and does it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my answers to that, Lauren, but...
No, go ahead, Brian. I'm going to read this passage really quick.
It's really hard to wrap your mind around 7 billion people. Let's just say everybody all at once prayed, and God wouldn't go like, whoa, guys, slow down, one at a time.
Overwhelmed over here.
Because that's how we would react.
Like the movie Jim Carrey, it's not, oh God, that's what was coming to mind. But
Bruce Almighty?
Yes, where he starts to get prayers as emails, and they're coming in, faster than he can do. And so he just decides answer all, and that's a mess. Everybody wins the lottery, and they all get a penny, So God's much greater than us.
Yeah, and that's where, how does that work, that he hears like all prayers asked and processes them in some infinite way? I don't know. But I believe he does. If I believe God can transcend space and time and speak the entire universe into existence, how hard would it be to listen to people talking?
Right.
I think we kind of forget that too. Like we take for granted, we really believe he spoke the world into existence. And that the galaxies that we see we're still discovering the infinite nature of that, or even scientists still don't totally understand how and why the brain works.
I actually literally just this morning, there was a brand new picture. It was the most detailed image we've ever seen of a human cell. I mean, just amazing. And I kind of stared at it for a minute, just awestruck. Like, God has organized things down to this microscopic level. I mean, this cell is so busy. There's so much happening. We have millions upon millions of those in our bodies, and there are billions of people. God is orchestrating all of that.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, someone doesn't process it in that way. So they say, oh, yeah, of course God did that. God made that. And like, I don't know if he can hear all the prayers at once. Whoa. No, if he can design the human cell.
Yeah.
That's actually, like, hearing prayers is no big deal compared to what he's already done, if that makes sense. Not that it's not a good question. I think it's a great question. Lauren, you wanted to add anything to that? You're looking at the passage?
Yeah. So this passage is spiritual blindness. And I'm reading from the Moody Bible commentary on this passage. It says, the Jewish leadership should have marveled at Jesus' healing of the blind man. Instead, the blind man marveled at the Pharisees' ignorance of the healer's origin. Healer, meaning Jesus. He reasoned with sound Old Testament theology. God does not hear the prayers of sinners. He only hears God-fearing people who do his will. That's from Psalm 66, Psalm 41, Proverbs 28. He also reasoned from the Old Testament history that no one ever opened the eyes of a person born blind. No known biblical or extra-biblical Jewish sources record the healing of a blind man. This was a power associated only with the coming of the Messiah. We see it in Isaiah 29, Isaiah 35, Isaiah 42, Isaiah 18, Isaiah 61. The healed man concluded that Jesus could do nothing on his own initiative, the very affirmative Jesus himself made.
There it is. That's why you get the Moody Bible commentary.
So it's referencing back to Old Testament, like history and knowledge that the Pharisees would have had.
And that we don't have nearly as well.
Because they were like, how dare you heal this person? Who are you, you witch? And they're like, no one's ever done this before.
Like
Only the Messiah could do it. Yeah.
It's a witch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one of my favorite stories, too. The guy totally, like the blind man's a genius.
Yeah. He appeals to the Old Testament, which is what they use against people all the time.
Yeah. I did think of, we were talking about how much people struggle with the mystery of God, who God is. If you're struggling with that, I would go through the exercise of reading the book of Job, or at least portions of it, because I have like a favorite couple of chapters of Job that I only have to read the first few verses, and I go, okay, I get it. Now, remember, Job we know the story of what's happening to Job from the beginning, but Job has no idea why his entire family and all his possessions have been wiped out.
And he never finds out either.
Yeah.
He never finds out. His buddies come, his wife's there.
Everybody's mean to him.
Everybody comes up with horrible reasons why it's happened. And Job finally, towards the end, is kind of like, God, why did you do this? And the Lord's answer is awesome. And it's in the real sense of the word. Here's the New Living Translation, Job 38. Then the Lord answered Job from the whirlwind. Who is this that questions my wisdom with such ignorant words? Brace yourself like a man, because I have some questions for you, and you must answer them. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me if you know so much. Who determined its dimensions and stretched out the surveying line? What supports its foundation, and who laid its cornerstone as the morning stars sang together and the angels shouted for joy? Who kept the sea inside its boundaries and burst from its womb? Then he goes on to basically go, excuse me, who are you talking to? You don't get to ask me that question. Sit down, I'm God. That's what you get. The answer to your question is, I am God and you are not. So, sometimes I think when we don't understand the mysteries of God, you've got to pretend you're Job and be like, maybe I got to sit down and maybe God should ask me a few questions. Oh, I'm sorry. How did I make the ocean again? Oh, you don't know? Okay, sit down then. There's an intensity to it that I think has been helpful for me, at least. It's another way of that easy passage to memorize. Heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool. What kind of house are you going to build for me? It's like, hey, dude, you got a question about this little speck on your foot? I put my feet up on the whole earth, okay? Come on. So that helps me, at least. Any other comments or questions coming in, Lauren, that we ought to cover before we get to the news?
Not right now.
All right. Well, it's Follow-Up Friday. What do you want to talk about? 440-546-2255. 440-546-2255.
It's Mornings with Brian from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studios. Christian counseling for adults, couples, children, and families. North Coast Family Foundation. WCRF, Cleveland. WVMS, Sandusky. WVML, Millersburg. WVMN, Newcastle. WVME, Meadville. WVMU, Ashtabula. And with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
Republican senators are moving to introduce legislation that could make pornography a crime in the U.S. It's 6:59. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. Current law only classifies pornography intended to abuse, threaten, or harass someone as illegal. However, the Interstate Obscenity Definition Act would add all pornography to the definition of obscenity. This would make it illegal to distribute or consume pornography regardless of the material's intent. Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost is set to launch additional virtual reality law enforcement training in June. Yo says the use of VR allows officers to get a realistic sense of high-stakes situations without putting anyone at risk. And a new trailer for the upcoming Superman movie has dropped this week, as has a poster for the film that features the Cleveland skyline. Much of the new film was made in Cleveland, with the 216 serving as Metropolis during production. In sports, The Athletic reports that former NFL defensive back and Fremont, Ohio native Charles Woodson plans to buy a 0.1% stake in the Browns. And the WNBA tips off the regular season tonight with 3 games. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Partly cloudy today with a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms, highs in the lower 80s. And at last check, it's mostly cloudy, 64 in Cleveland, 71 Akron and Canton, 72 in Mansfield.
It's time for your moron moment.
National Do Something Good for Your Neighbor Day is celebrated on May 16th to express gratitude to those who are closest to us. After all, Jesus said, "Love thy neighbor." In fact, a neighbor is not merely the person who lives closest to you, but can be anyone or anyone with whom you share a kinship. Therefore, your colleagues, your friends, or your fellow commuters even could qualify as your neighbors. So do something good for them today. And that's your Moron Moment.
Moron.
And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 7:02 with Moody Radio News.
One of Eastwood.
Broadcasting live from the Bob Devine studio, it's Mornings with Brian. Want to join the conversation? Call or text now at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
It is follow-up Friday on Mornings with Brian, WCRF 706. I tell you what, that means that you can get in with whatever topic you want to talk about. Set the table with a new one. Perhaps you want to follow up on something from this week. We can review those topics here in just a moment. But hey, the show belongs to you. Even a personal issue you want to bring up, we can do it anonymously or whatever. 440-546-2255. Even you got a question for us about the show, how it works, about us as individuals. What's Lauren's favorite color? Black is the answer, which is all colors?
It's the absence of color.
Wait, white? What's white then?
All colors.
All colors.
Mind blown. Wow.
And that's what you get here on Mornings with Brian.
440-546-2255. I have a mystery I'd like to solve.
Oh.
And Ron may be the best source of information on this, but
probably.
Wow, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel.
So I had the last couple of weekends where a significant percentage of the weekend time to do things was taken up by mowing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to plow through this puppy. I'm going to mow everything.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay, good
Took
for
a long
you.
time.
So I probably spent like 2 hours, 3 hours mowing the lawn yesterday. I'm sore.
Yes.
My shoulder hurts.
Don't you have a riding mower?
Yes. Right. That's why it's a mystery, Lauren.
Okay. That's what I was getting to, too. You're on your tractor and, well, I guess you do. There's a
Yikes.
good amount of steering.
Yeah. I do a lot. I try to switch hands for the turning.
Yeah. You got
but
the
I don't know if
cool
I
guy
do it
turn.
enough.
Do you have a knob on your steering wheel?
No, I don't have a knob.
Okay.
Maybe you should get
that
one.
might help.
Really?
If you don't
yeah,
have
because
one,
you can
get
keep
one.
your arm a little more straight. You don't have to do the hand over hand.
Because I started getting the left. I'm a little sore right back here if you're watching the live stream.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, got to switch hands here. So I'd switch for a while, but I'm left-handed, so I feel a little sketchy driving around.
Right.
So, I'm a little embarrassed. Like, who gets sore doing that?
Me.
You do too?
Oh, yeah.
You get so sore from okay.
Do you have a riding mower too?
No.
Oh, you have a push mower.
Yeah.
I have to do that too in certain portions of my yard. Don't even get me started.
And then get out the weed whip and do
I gotta do
what
that
you
too.
can't get with the push mower.
But I went out and got the the senior citizen version of I have a weed whip, but I've got the extra handle you put on for better ergonomics.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
we've
I
got an
have-
extra handle on ours. That's
Do
not
you?
old people stuff.
Well, but then I also have this like harness you can put
you
on.
got a pack.
No, it's not a pack. It's a harness.
Oh, okay. And do you
that
like clip it in?
attaches to it so that your shoulders carry, like it sits on, like the weight
You're not
sits on you
lifting-
like a
you're
back.
not
You're not
using
using
your
your arms
shoulders.
and your shoulders.
Interesting.
You're just kind of holding it and steering it around while it floats.
Yeah, I don't have that. I do have an extra handle, so
Yeah,
I
I
have
got the
two
handle.
hands.
I got both. It's a little embarrassing.
I got the handle. It's nice.
Meanwhile, I'll look
I
at
don't think I could hold it if I didn't have the handle.
Yeah. Well, because you really have to contort your
yeah.
body to make it work right. Yeah.
Is yours gas powered or battery?
I used to have battery, but it just would run out too much. So I got a gas powered one.
Oh, mine's battery, so it's super light.
Nick in Millersburg said, "Me too. I have the sore driving shoulder."
Nick. Thanks,
there you
buddy.
go.
I feel so much better. I feel like such a loser. Everything makes me sore now.
I get sometimes like reaching up to a top shelf of the cupboard. I'll have a sore shoulder from that.
Really?
Yeah, because I just don't stretch like I used to.
Wow. Yeah, I also had the farrier came over. Now, for those who aren't familiar, you're like, what?
Mr. Cody's getting all cleaned up for summer.
Yeah, Cody's farrier had some health issues, so we were
Cody's the
delayed.
donkey.
Sorry, yes, Cody is my
Not
donkey.
his child.
And he, so his nails were long, very long, his hooves. So the farrier came over, and Cody was not into the idea. And when a, like 400-some pound donkey doesn't want you to cut his hooves, it's a challenge.
Yeah.
It took the two of us about an hour to cut all four. He's like, Cody kept backing into a corner where you couldn't get the one rear hoof.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to the guy tried 6 different techniques. Finally, I was coaxing him with treats. We moved him.
Treats?
And then I'm holding here. He's holding there. Finally, the only way we could get the final one was he figured out a way to wrap something around his lip. And he was like holding his lip. And Cody was like, this is horrible. And then he stopped kicking his leg because he was uncomfortable with his lip getting squeezed. I don't know, guys. It's a whole new world to me.
Well, that's why he has that job.
And I guess I'm letting him eat too much grass. I don't.
How do you stop that?
You like lock him up or something? I don't know.
He needs to run.
Wait, that's what he told you? The fairy told you he's eating too much grass?
I started doing some research and like they're not supposed to graze all day. What do I know about it? I didn't think I had to look that up.
How are you going to stop that if you let him out in the pasture?
Well, you can't let him out all the time, I guess.
But then
so you got to change your rules again.
Yeah.
Then
so
he's
Daria
get
just got it real
up.
easy, and then the next time I got to watch Cody again, I got to get him all corralled again.
You actually busy this weekend? Or are we?
Yes, I am.
Sarah and I were so overwhelmed by having to shift strategy again that we just decided to wait to shift the strategy and think about it. We're processing is what we call it.
Yeah.
He'll be okay.
We set a problem with each other, and we go, all right, now let's both process this and come back together. Do you guys ever do that with your spouse? Or do you try to solve it right there?
We need to solve things right away.
Sarah's a processor, and so I've learned that we
Eddie's
both need
a
to process.
processor.
So it's like, let's establish the problem, and now we're going to stop talking about the problem. We're going to process it.
Yeah, my issue, Brian, you probably have this too. I know the answer right away. And I don't really have to like think about what I want to do. I'm just like, this is what I want to do. I could take 3 days and it's still what I want to do.
Yeah, I've had times where like I know this is what needs to happen, but it needs to go on long enough that Sarah kind of decides that she came up with the idea a little bit. And then it's like, wow, that really does seem like a great idea. Oh, thanks, honey. You're right. That is a great idea. Not every time. So there's many times where she has this, she's got discernment as a spiritual gift, first of all, and I do not. And she has this spatial ability that is beyond explanation. I am like so remedial. I have to see it or I just don't get it. You could talk about it, draw it. I don't get it. So sometimes I just need her to wrap her amazing brain around things until I can totally figure it out. So, but you're able to get Eddie to come around to your ideas usually?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't think I need time to process. I'm like, oh, this is just like what I want to do. This is the answer. I know it right away. And he will take 3 to 5 business days to process. Which is also similar to my father. He does the same thing.
I love that you call him business days. He doesn't think on the weekends.
We don't think on the weekends.
No. My dad was the same growing up. If I wanted to like go hang out with friends, I had to at least know 4 days in advance. Because I'd have, hey, Dad, can I go hang out with these friends, do this, whatever thing? Yeah, let me think about that. Silence.
I'm really surprised at that because you were the youngest. Usually it's like, oh, whatever you want to do.
I mean, It usually ended up being whatever I want to do, but then I'd have to like come back. Hey, Dad, have you thought more about this? Yeah, I'm just thinking about it.
He forgot to think about it.
Oh, absolutely. I've done that before.
And then you just tell him, well, while you're thinking about it, I'm going to be hanging out with these friends.
With my friends. The time's already passed. I'm already gone. And I'd go to my mom and be like, Mom, he's still thinking about it. She's like, yeah, I don't know. I just can't help him. You got to ask your dad.
Do you think he really was spending a lot of his day going, should Lauren hang out with her
He didn't think about it at all.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think about it at all.
Although I will say a parallel would be our friend Kathleen Zion used to co-host the show. Her husband, Nathan Zion, attorney at law, Mahal Zion LLC, is on the show regularly. At one point, she wanted to get a dog. And she knew this was going to be the case, but much to her frustration, Nathan needed not just like 3 to 5 business days. He needed like 3 to 5 months to process through this.
Oh, yeah, that was me and Eddie.
I mean, getting a dog is a big decision.
I had to drag Eddie to the shelter, and I was like, no, we're going to go look at dogs, and it's going to be fine. Everything's fine. And we came away with a dog because he found out he loved him so much. So.
Yeah, like what? But what are we processing?
A long time. I begged for months. Like, please, can we get a dog?
What was stopping him at the time? What was he thinking about?
And then like our dog Mosby became like his actual best friend. So, come on.
So
you can say thank you to me.
Lesson learned. Listen to your wife. Go much more quickly.
And get the dog.
Yeah, we had that where our big dog Louie was just too much as a puppy for us because he was so big. We knew he needed a friend, so we went to the pound because I'm not going to spend a bunch of money on a dog, and I want to help dogs that are that were abandoned or whatever. Mm-hmm. So we go to the pound. There was a dog we thought we liked. They force you to have them meet each other. And this other dog did not like my Louie. And we were like, oh no, what are we going to do? The guy at the shelter looks at me, goes, oh, I'm sorry, sir. You think you're going to be picking out your dog? You will not.
The dog picks out the dog.
Your dog will choose your next dog. Excuse me?
Yeah, they got to be pals.
And he goes, yes, that's what's going to happen. And he goes, excuse me a moment. And then he conferred with the people.
I thought you were going to say with the dogs.
He's like talking to the people. Comes over. All right, we're going to have him meet this dog. What? I like never seen the dog. Brings out my gunner. Aww. And they were best friends. And I guess I'm getting this dog. Or we could have processed for 3 to 5 months.
You've got Gunner now.
Yeah, he's a sweet boy. And I think Kathleen and Nathan ended up with the exact dog she wanted at the beginning. So
someone said, you got to get the 0 turn, Brian. It'll change your life. Not quite as much as Jesus, but pretty close.
Oh, wow. That's quite an endorsement.
Yeah, everybody where I'm at's got the 0 turn. I know they do. But Brian has limited resources. And
that's understandable.
And Brian also needed something to plow his driveway in third person. Yeah. I talk in third person. Brian needed something that can plow his driveway. So you can actually save money getting a device that plows driveways and mows lawns. Ergo, a small tractor.
Christine said, it's time to add a segment on fitness for Brian's aging body.
I mean, yeah.
We could, I don't know, like do Pilates in here.
No, we will not. I don't do those.
Maybe we arrive early and we have a 5:30 Pilates class.
Maybe not.
Oh, okay.
No, I will have you. No, I was exercising yesterday, so I could have. Listen to me.
By sitting on your tractor?
Just listen to me. The last couple of days, I've been working on a project outside that's on the other. It's probably like 100 yards from where my.
Oh, so you walked 100 yards?
So instead of driving my tractor full of things over there, I will walk over, do all the labor. When I need something, turn around, walk all the way back, get the thing, turn around, walk all the way back again. A lot of walking.
Got your steps in?
Get my steps in.
You want applause for walking.
As a matter of fact, I do. Go ahead,
actually.
Daria. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm good.
I don't get one clap, Daria.
Ron, do you have that you get nothing stinger in there?
Wow. Hashtag pray for Jimmy. Oh.
You get nothing.
There it is.
You lose.
Okay, well, I guess I take a break, too.
Moody Radio is thankful for listeners and support from businesses like Duma Meats and Farm Market. Duma Meats and Farm Market supporting Moody Radio in Cleveland and surrounding areas. More information about Duma Meats and Farm Market is at dumameats.com.
Pastors have to make tons of decisions, including what to do to meet healthcare needs for themselves and their staff. Christian Healthcare Ministries specializes in making healthcare decisions easy and affordable. Not insurance, but a health cost sharing ministry for over 40 years. CHM opens the door for individuals, families, and yes, pastors to be a part of a biblical way to meet medical bills. Get more information and answers to your questions at chministries.org/Moody. That's chministries.org/Moody.
Much debt, little ministry.
At Moody Bible Institute, our 139-year history proves the importance of a tuition-paid education model.
Students going into ministry where salaries are lower can't serve on the field while carrying heavy loads of debt.
That's why we're grateful for your support of these young people.
When you give a gift, you're helping train the next generation of Christian leaders.
And keeping them out of debt.
Give today at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
Poverty is one of the most urgent challenges of our time. Over 700 million people around the world live in extreme poverty, surviving on less than $2.15 per day. World Vision is tackling the root causes of poverty by partnering with communities to implement sustainable solutions like access to clean water, healthcare, and nutritious food, so every child can grow into who God meant them to be. You can be part of showing Jesus love and bringing hope for the future. Visit worldvision.org/radio to get started.
Keeping your eyes on Jesus in a changing culture can be difficult. Let us help. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio, Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio, Cleveland. 103.3. At 6 to 9 a.m.
724 WCRF. It's Follow Up Friday, 440-546-2255. Our good friend Ronald Eastwood has you guys said you have a song for me?
Yes, it's a throwback on Friday, so Flashback Friday, I guess.
Oh, I like it. Okay.
Goes back to 1961.
Okay. I'm ready.
10 times push up, starting low. Once more on the rise, nuts to the flabby guys. Go, you chicken fat, go away. Go, you chicken fat, go.
Ah, the days of sensitivity.
Yes. I was sponsored or commissioned by like a National Institutes of Health or something. And
it's so rude. Want people to get healthy, make them feel terrible about themselves.
So you'd exercise to that.
Did
do
you?
Your push-ups every 10 times. Yes, it was used in one of the shows, Captain Kangaroo or Captain Penny or somebody, not Romper Room, but
So they put that in a kids show?
yeah.
And you would do it along? You would like get on the ground and do your push-ups?
Right.
I do stand-ups all
Would
the
you
time.
like to do some push-ups right now?
No, I would not. Would you?
No.
Again, I do stand-ups on a regular basis.
Would you like to do some planks?
So you get up from your chair and go to the kitchen.
Yeah, it's stand up. I mean, it's up. It's calisthenics, right? Your own body weight.
Stand up every morning 10 times.
Well, I threw out the day 10 times.
Yeah, don't want to overdo it.
Right. 440-546-2255. I don't know. I got a bunch of animals. I got dogs. I got kids, a wife, a long commute. You're lucky I'm here, basically. So stop telling me what to do with push-ups.
Brian, take a deep breath. It's literally going to be fine. We got a question for Ron.
Okay.
How does Ron have the energy to work 2 jobs?
Well,
for those who don't know, Ron, you also work overnights at UPS.
Yeah.
United Parcel Service.
Both of the jobs are part-time. So if you're thinking I'm working 2 8-hour-a-day jobs, you can relax on that. UPS is about a 4-hour shift. Lately, it's been a little less. They've been short on packages for some reason.
Everybody, you need to order stuff.
Yeah.
Order stuff from UPS. Well, not from.
You know what it might be? The tariffs on Chinese stuff. So our Temu and Shein is all cut back because there was a lot of Temu stuff would come through. But anyway.
Usually the wrong product, right? People ordered it and got something else.
It's an extra large and it's the size of my toe. Yeah.
So then it'd be shipped back. That's why we had all that volume. But then here is 5.5 hours a day. So yeah, it makes for a long day with the driving in between and everything. But I guess
you like to work, Ron.
Yeah, and it's a necessity. If a man will not work, neither shall he eat. And I enjoy eating. And I enjoy watching my wife eat, knowing that she will not starve under
your watch.
Yeah.
A guy's got to do what a guy's got to do, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So
we appreciate you, Ron Eastwood, and how hard you work.
Thank you.
Next question's for Daria.
Okay.
The 20-something generation, they are the loneliest generation. How do they date?
Not well.
Good answer.
Many 20-somethings are actually quite afraid of the opposite sex, men in particular.
Afraid of the opposite sex?
Yeah.
Brian, you're scared of girls. Don't even start.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just this culture that's been created where men are just genuinely afraid to approach a woman. But if you don't meet someone in college, then you're pretty much relegated to online dating, which is a mess. That's how all my single friends are meeting people. Occasionally you'll meet someone through church. That's kind of hard too, because in my experience, a lot of the people that are in churches are already married. So if you're single, it's really hard to meet a spouse or, someone that way. So not well.
Yeah. And I mean, if you think years ago when there weren't options for online dating, people went places and did stuff. And that's how you met people.
Right. And you'd rely on recommendations from friends and relatives.
Grandmas.
Yeah.
I met a nice young man. You should go out with him.
He's only 15 years older than you.
That legitimately happened to one of my friends. I watched this whole thing unfold as someone said, I know this person that you should go out with, and showed this picture this guy was at least 10 years older than her. It's this bizarre thing. She's complaining to me about it all the time. It's like, oh, you're single, you must marry this other person I know that is single, and I don't know enough about either of you to know if you'd even be compatible. So if you got some single 20 early 30 people in your life, they need support, they need prayer, they do not need you to set them up.
Well, and I've wondered if even the online dating thing, as it's falling out of fashion, as you tell me.
Yes and no. People are frustrated with it, so they will they'll swear it off. But the problem is there's really no other great way to meet people, so then they always come crawling back.
Well, and see, I've wondered about the whole premise of how they're done, though. A lot of them base it on compatibility, as in compatibility is sameness. I want someone with the same interests, same this, same that, same this. And when you meet most married people, they are not the same at all. In fact, they're opposite of each other.
Jimmy and I are polar opposites in most ways.
And what dating site is advertising that? Come here, meet your opposite.
Opposites attract. New dating app.
I mean, it would make sense, right? Yeah. It's going to match you up with people who are nothing like you. But Sarah and I, totally different people. You and Eddie, very different. You and Dana, yeah?
Yeah, we're pretty different.
You and Jimmy?
Mm-hmm.
And yet every dating site's let's find someone who, they both like sports.
They both like video games. They both like board games.
No.
So instead of eHarmony, we should have eDissonance. We'll start our new system.
Ron, you've done it again.
Here we go.
Every day, Ron. You and your ideas. Do you patent any of these ideas?
No, I wouldn't have to work 2 jobs if I would just follow through on one of these.
Moody Radio's thankful for support from listeners and businesses like Deerfield Ag Services. They help in adaptation of new technologies and techniques of farm and business management. More information about Deerfield Ag and how they can help is at deerfieldagservices.com.
In this culture full of contradictions and false teachings, how do we align our hearts with God and His Word? For answers, we have a letter for you to read. Paul's letters to the Ephesians and Colossians. This May, join Today in the Word and devotional author David Sutton for our study, Chosen in Christ. Join this month's study. Go to todayintheword.com or download the new and improved Today in the Word app.
Download the all-new app at todayintheword.org or in your app store.
4 out of 3 people struggle with math. Brian says that's 60% of the population. Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Friday on WCRF, where it's Mornings with Brian live from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studio. Whether it's your faith or your health, you don't have to journey alone. Follow-up Friday is where we look back at this week's topics, plus open up the floodgates, they say, for a cattywampus. No, a gully washer, as Ron said earlier today, where you could suggest any topic you would like, whether it's a question that's vexing you or a personal issue or a question about the team. Like, Ron, how do you work 2 jobs? Someone just asked that. Lauren, how can you possibly do all that you do? Daria, same to you. Same question. Go. It could be that. 440-546-2255. Are we reviewing or do we have another one that popped in?
We don't have any more right now.
All right. 440-546-2255. We discussed California. Governor Newsom has decided he's come up with a plan on how to basically just get rid of homeless encampments. And the country is moving towards criminalizing homelessness. And we just were chatting earlier this week about, that sounds like a bad idea from a faith perspective. Okay.
Even from a logic perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, if you chase them out of, your city, your jurisdiction, they have to go somewhere. If they don't have a home and there's no shelter, they've got to go somewhere. It's like the duplex where one side bug bombs, the bugs all go to the other side, and then they bug bomb and it goes back.
Yeah. But there's almost like a naive logic that goes with it, though, Ron. It's like someone goes, if I force them to leave this tent encampment, they'll go, okay, I'll live somewhere.
Right.
Or like some other city will find it'll be the last straw, or the presumption that if you're in a tent encampment, the only obstacle you face is, gosh, I don't know where to live. I don't have anywhere to live. That is not the. I mean, that is such an oversimplification of the problem. And just ask anyone that works at City Mission, and they'll tell you that you have oversimplified the problem to an extreme. Or even the people who go, man, all these people in these tent encampments, they love it. They're freeloaders. They love being there for free. What are you talking about? What planet are you from? Have you ever talked to a person who's experiencing homelessness? Goodness gracious me.
It's
Say that more often.
Not comfortable at all.
All right. The Bible never says don't feel sad. So let's stop acting like it does. And we talked about that as a team, about things that are sad and why it's okay to be sad. I hate my parents' politics. Should I keep my son away? Somebody wrote to an advice column. A lot of you had comments on that one. Virginia, their governor's trying to limit, and their legislature, social media usage for minors. And seeming like every commentator who sees the governor of Virginia's plan, they go, well, that's a terrible idea. And I keep thinking of D.L. Moody's comment. Somebody went up to him and said, hey, D.L., I don't like how you evangelize people. And he goes, I like my way of evangelizing better than your way of not evangelizing. So it's like, at least they're doing something. And I advocated for perhaps it's time for us to yield this decision for our children to the government. As much as that scares people, we're not voluntarily stopping it. So make somebody else do it. 25 questions to bring you closer to your mom or someone else close in your life. They were really thought-provoking questions to start good conversation. Mommy bloggers and trad wives, and we talked about motherhood, essentially, and why the birth rate has dropped so much. And how can we inspire people to have more kids? You've been inspired yet, Lauren?
No.
Done with 2?
Yes.
Okay. We tried. Just kidding. That was not the goal at all. Assurance of salvation. Somebody had a question about that, so we talked about it.
Yeah.
Does God want us to be happy? We tried to answer that question. 3 secrets to falling in love with exercise, which were neither secrets nor effective. And want to raise birth rates? How do you do it? Again, we talked at length about how to raise birth rates, and there were some good comments that came in from that. 440-546-2255. In fact, let's park on birth rates. That's one of the things I wanted to talk about. We did discover that in order to have a society, a country, be at a replacement level, like a place where you can sustain your current population over time, you have to have a fertility rate of 2.1 children per woman, which we know is a statistical reality and not an actual literal reality, but you know what I mean. Last year, the U.S. birth rate was not 2.1 or 2.0. It was 1.6. And it's been dropping. It's causing our government to panic, and other developed countries around the world experience the exact same problem. It's a pattern with economically prosperous countries experience declining birth rates. And so the question becomes, how do you motivate people to have more kids? And that's what our government's battling with and thinking through. Other countries have done the same thing. Financial incentives, and some of them are pretty extreme. Like Russia offered almost an entire year's salary to try to get people to have kids, and they didn't. A couple of comments that came in. Someone says, people need to see examples of healthy families mentally and emotionally. Many people in my bracket don't want kids because they only had bad experiences.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
So I guess what they're saying is somebody grew up in a dysfunctional family, and so they're like, I don't want to do that to anybody else. It was so horrible for me.
Right.
Right, yeah.
It's an interesting logic to process, because don't most people usually say, I can do better than my parents did? Or is that an extremely humble thing of saying, they screwed up so bad, my life was horrible?
Yeah, I have heard some people talk like that I don't know that I could be a good dad, and I don't want to take a chance.
I mean, I know multiple people that have been so traumatized by their parents' divorces that they never want to get married. So I think someone might apply the same logic to having kids. I didn't have a good example. I'm really scared of what's going to happen, and I've seen how badly it can go.
I mean, I wish I had a really clear way to dissuade people from that, but it's another reason why we talk often about Christians need to model what healthy marriage looks like. And that's why we work so hard in the show to talk about how to strengthen your relationships. Because it's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of reward, but I mean, we can't just be married and hate each other and think we're setting some sort of good example by not getting divorced. Talked about that this week too, by the way.
Yeah. And being a mentor can be a good thing especially if you're older and you've had somewhat successful time of being married, raising children. Speak to the younger ones, like for me, I should speak to the younger men and say, how are things going with your family? What are some of the struggles you face? And you probably start off with, how can I pray for you? And you build that relationship to where they start to ask advice and say, what did you do? And don't be afraid to say, I don't know, because times are changing, and the advice of what I did with my kids might not make any sense in today's world, but there are some transferable concepts that you might be able to share.
Somebody else wrote to us on that issue of declining birth rates and how to change it. They said, the problem is the secular world wants their own life, not one with kids.
There's some of that.
Yeah, I've just noticed in general that the Western world just really doesn't like kids at all. They don't like to be inconvenienced even by someone else's kids. And I've seen a lot of articles written, video specials from various news organizations about these usually millennials. They're like, I don't want to have kids because I'm just quite happy to be able to do literally whatever I want. Expensive hobbies and going out to eat. And you do have to give up on, you have to give a lot of that up if you decide to have kids. Sure. And I think in our modern culture, that's compromising and giving up things that we don't want, that we enjoy for something even better, is something that we struggle with.
To what extent, Lauren, were you aware of how much of yourself you'd have to surrender when you had kids?
I think I thought I could keep a lot of who I was. I don't think I realized how much I would lose myself.
How much would you say you've lost yourself?
It's hard because I'm kind of in a transitional phase right now. I'm feeling like I'm starting to come back to life after having an infant. Because he can walk and he's starting to communicate more, and I can leave and it's not traumatizing. And so I don't know. I don't know if I have a percentage in mind.
Yeah, and the reason I ask is because we like to scoff at, like you were saying, there's a lot of millennials, Daria, that are saying, I don't want to give up all my life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're not wrong that you give up your life.
No, they're not.
Like to scoff at them and go, wow, what do you mean? No, I've been consistently shocked at how much of myself I've had to give up to have children for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
At least 19 and a half years now, almost 20 years. Sarah and I have had kids, and I was not prepared for how much of myself would disappear.
Mm-hmm.
I think for a follower of Christ, that's a good spiritual exercise. But if you're not a Christian,
what's the point?
Why would you choose that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a long time ago, people had kids so they'd get free labor.
Mm-hmm.
Once that's no longer a problem in society, again, I don't think it's totally illogical unless you're a believer.
It's really not. I mean, Lauren talked in depth about how expensive it is to have kids. There are, in our modern context, there are genuinely no incentives to have children. So like you said, if you're not a believer, why bother?
Because, the message of the cross is continually take up your cross and like form your life more to that of Christ, not do what you want to do.
Yeah, I saw something, I don't know where it was, but someone was talking about how back in like the 70s or 80s, if you had children in full-time care and you were a working parent, the tax credit you would get back was like $4,000 something. Or no, that's how much you would pay, like $4,000 something for full-time care for your children, and you get a tax credit back. Now, care for children full-time for parents is at minimum $14,000 to $15,000 a year. And in bigger cities, it's going to be $20,000, $25,000 or more for one child. And you get the same amount of tax credit back. The tax credit hasn't grown with how much the cost of childcare has grown. So there really isn't an incentive for working parents, if they want to keep working, to have children.
And then, people go, well, it's, then it's people complain about it's too expensive to have kids. Kids are so valuable. You can't monetize that. It's worth it. I totally get that. I love my kids. I don't want to give them back. But I really can't describe to you how much it's changed in the season that Sarah and I have been raising kids, about 20 years now, 20 years in August.
Mm-hmm.
It has gotten so much more expensive to do the basic things. I just, like the way the economy has gone, it's impossible to describe to someone who's an empty nester how much it's changed or hasn't had kids yet. It's so incredibly expensive. I was at the grocery store yesterday making choices unlike I had to make a long time ago. I'm not saying it's dire or desperate, but it's like, it's not also crazy for someone to say, man, kids are so expensive. I don't know if I can afford this.
And I think that's responsible too. As much as, we wish people would have more children so the birth rate goes up. I think it's very responsible to look at the finances and say, no matter how much we might want more kids, we literally are not going to be able to make this work.
Yeah. So but then I guess the question would be, then how do you raise birth rates? Or maybe it's not a problem. I mean, it's a problem economically for any society. As I shared earlier, this piece I was looking at from the Wall Street Journal, in Japan, they've reached the point where they sell more adult diapers than baby diapers. And so at the end of the day, there's going to be no one left to care for or taxes to economically support an aging population that can't work. That's the fear of any government.
And I pointed out briefly last time we discussed this about that's kind of a myopic view. Like only people who are currently U.S. citizens can, are encouraged to have more children. But we can have more citizens without any of us having more children because we have immigration. And if we have the legal immigrants come in, they're vetted, all that process, no shortcut to citizenship. They follow the path that's been tried and true for decades. Then they can come in, they get jobs, they pay taxes. Social Security is beefed up. It's good, and we won't have to worry about, not having any when we get to that point. Problem solved.
Yeah, but that's not a very popular position today.
Yeah, the melting pot of America. Some people have a view that it should have a lid on it now.
Yeah, stop melting, maybe cool it down a bit. Yeah. 7:51 on WCRF. It's a follow-up Friday. What do you want to talk about? 440-546-2255.
Moody Radio is on the air thanks to support from our listeners and businesses like Fellowship Home Loans. They'll talk about the numbers as well as your hopes, dreams, and the market's reality. Home is where the heart is. It's where families grow and where dreams are born. More information is at 800-804-7283. That's 800-804-SAVE or fellowshiphomeloans.com. Welcome home.
Hello, Roland Warren here with your Pro-Abundant Life Minute. The pro-choice movement has long used language to mislead. Now they're pushing a new term, co-creation, rather than procreation to explain a woman's role in conception. Let's break it down. The prefix pro means for, while co means with. A procreator facilitates life. A co-creator actively creates life along with someone else. So, if a woman is a co-creator of life, she may believe that she has full control over it, just like an artist over a painting. But life isn't like that. We don't create sperm or eggs. God does. We are procreators entrusted with what He's made, with no right to destroy it. Let's not be deceived. Life is not a human creation. It's a sacred trust. For more pro-abundant life insights, visit care-net.org.
Join the conversation by call or text at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
7:56 WCRF Mornings with Brian. And just moments ago for Follow-Up Friday, where you get to suggest any topic you want, drop in a comment from the week, revisit topics from the week. We got a first-time texter.
Woohoo! Yay, Jennifer!
You, Jennifer, get free stuff from us. And again, not random free stuff from the show.
Yeah, we're not just like grabbing stuff from our offices and putting it in a box.
Oh, I need to get rid of this.
Here's a sandwich I didn't like.
Now it's stuff made for you. My comment is that a lot of these economic and social issues are great opportunities for the church to rise up and be the church to love and care for kids, helping younger families, mentoring, etc.
Yeah, good.
Great idea.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. Church is not necessarily doing that, but I mean, some churches are.
Right.
But we're not doing it on a mass scale to make a tangible difference for the vast majority of people and get noticed. We're good at like hurricanes and disasters. We're good at like short-term disasters.
Yeah.
We're not good at long-term crises.
And I think, while I do not disagree that the church should step up and help people in crisis, the problem is you're talking about long-term sustaining a lot of people, which I just think most churches are not going to have the ability to do. So while, the church should step in and care for people, I think we have a larger societal problem where everybody needs to come together and say, listen, we need to figure out how to lower prices on this, how to incentivize with tax credits or whatever, how to just make things more affordable in general.
And Christians could be the leaders in those charges, but the difficulty is that we've created a fictitious line in some people's minds on both sides of the aisle on which side of the aisle is more Christian. And so, and then we adopt those particular dispositions and decide that no matter what they are, as long as they're on my side, they must be the Christian position, rather than separate ourselves and be as Christ, use scriptures as the foundation, and guide government towards something that would be not just in the preservation of life in the womb, but the preservation of life and the sustaining and advancement of life throughout an entire life in our society. So there's that. 440-546-2255.
We've got a couple back and forth comments.
Okay.
My thoughts are, children are a blessing, not a financial burden. Raising future adults is an honor, not a chore. Yes, we need to make wise financial choices. That includes reprioritizing our expectations of comfort. Sacrifice is good. If something, like having a family, is noble and good, then seek wisdom from our Father.
Those are good, but I want to go through a couple of them, first of all.
Sure.
I think, first of all, number one, children are a blessing, not a financial burden. No, they're both.
Two things can be true at once.
Yeah, they're both. Second, raise future adults as it's an honor to raise future adults. It's also emotionally exhausting, mentally taxing, a lot of rewards, but a lot of challenges, a lot of heartbreak.
The rewards aren't guaranteed. A lot of people end up with their kid writing them off. You know, that could happen. So while you look ahead and you envision, oh, my kids will grow up, they'll love me, well, you know, they'll come for Mother's Day and Father's Day, and you might not get that.
Yeah, and then we need to make wise financial choices. That includes reprioritizing our expectations of comfort. Sacrifice is good. That is true to an extent. What I would say is that was much more true in the early 1990s and prior, where you could have a single income household and make sacrifices and be fine. Like when I first did that, when I was teaching, people thought I was nuts. And the guy's like, how are you going to afford like a boat? Like the idea then was you could have a single parent household and what you're sacrificing is extravagant vacations and toys.
Mm-hmm.
Now both parents work to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people aren't struggling because they're going out to eat too often. That is sometimes the case. But with people that already have children or are thinking about that decision, when they're looking at the numbers, they're not saying, well, we can't have kids because we need to keep all these luxuries, most of them. They are at the bare bones and they're still going, this is going to be an incredible struggle if it's possible to make the ends meet at all.
It's not an issue of choosing, and you're choosing luxury and not sacrificing enough. It's just not. I understand the sentiment of that comment because I've been there before. I'm just telling you that the lived experience is different.
This text is from someone with a teen. Most young people can't even afford to get their own home. where can they raise their families? Mom and dad's house? Throw in other expenses like the cost to birth a child, daycare, food, etc. Difficulties in finding a spouse or a boyfriend or girlfriend due to lack of genuine connection, lack of monogamous relationships in our culture, and increase in divorce and non-traditional relationships. Increases in fertility issues and mental health issues. Honestly, part is even genuine fear of bringing up a child in a world that is deteriorating. I would have loved to have more kids, but my kid is struggling so much emotionally and mentally with how other kids are. Drugs, promiscuity, lack of love and care. I feel horrible that this has been his experience in the world.
What do you make of that? Raw honesty. I love the raw honesty of it.
All of that, it doesn't go against that children are a blessing.
They certainly are a blessing.
It's a little bit different today. My family is a 2-income family, and at the end of the month, we're starting to get, it's looking a little shaky. At the end of every month, everyone hold on, don't do anything. Do we have any Amazon subscriptions that we need to stop? It's getting a little shaky the last week of the month, and we are a 2-income household. My husband would need to almost triple his income for us to be able to afford living. And we don't have a huge house. It's a starter house.
Well, and that's why it's so frustrating to have somebody say, just either try harder or sacrifice more. There's enough ignorance in that about the reality of the world in which we live today that it becomes almost offensive. And it's equally as naive and destructive to me as the person who looks at someone in the purity culture and says, save yourself till marriage, get married, and you'll live happily ever after. Marriage is great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, marriage is great.
Right.
But it's also the absolute hardest thing I've ever done in my whole life. And it's filled with ups and downs and heartaches and triumphs. And
Yeah, and I mean, we pay for childcare, yes, but we're not even paying for full-time childcare. We're paying for 5 days a week, 3 hours a day. And then we have to pay for preschool for the other one because he's got to go to school. So, and we really don't eat out. So it's not like we have all these expenses that we're being frivolous with.
Mm-hmm. We got excited there. It's time for the news. Sorry, Ron.
Yeah, come on now.
Kids these days.
Silencing Ron.
All right, we got to get to Ron's news, but we got plenty more time for you. What do you want to talk about this follow-up Friday? 440-546-2255.
There's joy in the journey. It's Mornings with Brian from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studios. Good morning from Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
Former FBI Director James Comey is receiving criticism for a social media post some say calls for the assassination of President Trump. It's 8:05. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. The post included a photo of seashells on a beach arranged to form the numbers 8647. The number 86 is occasionally used as a slang term for getting rid of someone or something, while 47 was interpreted as a reference to Donald Trump's status as the 47th president. An Ohio lawmaker wants to get rid of most noon kickoffs for college football games. Republican State Representative Tex Fisher has introduced legislation that would implement a $10 million fine for games that involved at least one state school that got started before 3:30 p.m. The rule would also apply to contests where both opponents are ranked in the top 10. And an estimated 11,000 people are expected to participate in events surrounding this weekend's Cleveland Marathon. Events will include a 5K, 10K, and kids run on Saturday. The full and half marathon are scheduled for Sunday. In sports, The Athletic is reporting that former NFL defensive back and Fremont, Ohio native Charles Woodson plans to buy a 0.1% stake in the Browns. And the WNBA tips off the regular season tonight with 3 games. Here now is your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Partly cloudy with a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms today. High temperatures should be in the lower 80s. At last check, clear skies, 67 degrees in Cleveland, 71 Akron and Canton, 65 in Ashtabula. And on top of that, it's muggy.
It's time for your moron moment.
National Do Something Good for Your Neighbor Day is celebrated on May 16th to express gratitude to those who are closest to us. After all, Jesus said, "Love thy neighbor." In fact, a neighbor is not merely the person who lives closest to you, but can be anyone with whom you share a kinship. Therefore, your colleagues, friends, or fellow commuters also qualify as your neighbors. So do something good for them today. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 8:07 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ron Eastwood.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Kelly.
Your favorite.
The elephant from Sing. I
There it
can't
is.
help it. Watch the movie Sing. She's the elephant. It's the best. Okay. I can't help it. I tried, Lauren.
Oh, from Sing.
Mornings with Brian, WCRF. Follow-up Friday. On Follow-up Friday, we review the week's topics. And we revisit topics you want to talk about. We share some comments we didn't get to. But we also allow you to just suggest any topic you would like. We've had some nice questions, personal ones. Brave Sir Ronald over there was asked a question about how do you possibly do it with the 2 jobs. And he says, hey, I like to eat. Not in an excessive way, but just at all. Right. So that's why he does that. Okay, 440-546-2255. We've been talking a little bit about, for a while now, the idea of having children and declining birth rates, and governments across the globe for the last few decades trying to figure out how do we get people to have kids. We need them to in order to sustain our population and have enough tax base to care for the aging.
Right. Not even just tax base, just bodies that are able to care for people as they get older.
Yeah. So we've got some more comments on that front.
Yeah, we had a couple of comments talking about God's first mandate in the Bible is to be fruitful and multiply, and then govern the earth, which is true. I think the problem with that, though, is non-Christians don't adhere to that.
And
so
there's no quantification there.
Of how many?
Does he say just keep on multiplying until you have 80 billion people or 100 billion? Or, at what point have you multiplied and you've fulfilled that commission?
Well, because there's even debate about how to interpret be fruitful and multiply. There's somebody who would tell you that's open womb theology.
Yes.
That's you have as many children as you can possibly have. Then you end up like Michelle Duggar and you have 19 children. And if you're not doing that, you're not being fruitful and multiplying. You go, well, I don't know about that. Okay, so now you're putting boundaries on it.
Right.
So why do you get to decide where the boundary is? Why isn't Michelle Duggar right?
And maybe she was for her, but Dana would never have gone for that.
Right. And so it really is a debate over who gets to draw the line. Because I don't think there's any verse that says either be fruitful and multiply as much as you can, no matter what the financial consequence. Be as irresponsible as you can possibly be with your money.
You're called to be a good steward of your money and to be wise.
Not have so many children that you literally are at a point where you can't afford to feed them. I also wonder, too, I'm not saying that this command is not still relevant, but I think it had a specific and different meaning for the first people that were ever created.
Yes.
Because the earth was empty. And so they had to fill it so God could have people there, because that was part of his plan.
You and your logic. There is some truth to that.
Yeah, and we can't say that be fruitful and multiply is a more important mandate than to be good stewards of our money.
Nor is it a condemnation for someone who's infertile.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we don't like to think about all sides of a problem.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. But I get wound up about things. I hope you're hearing from me. I just love to talk about all sides of an issue. I understand where people are coming from, and it's debates like this that cause us to think as believers more deeply. So I'm appreciative of someone who brings that up because it helps us think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in a world that's increasingly less Christian, post-Christian, they don't have to follow God's rules.
Be nice if they did. But
So they don't look at Genesis 1 and say, "Oh, I must multiply because God said." Well, no, because they don't believe in God.
Yeah.
Or they don't believe in the God of the Bible. So why would they do that? And this is a cultural problem, a global problem, not just a Christian problem.
It really is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there are athletes, basketball players come to mind, but I'm sure there's others who take this quite literally, and in every town they're being fruitful and multiplying.
But that's obviously, if you don't read the whole Bible, not what God meant.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. What else you got, Lauren?
Well, we have a fun little follow-up comment from a couple weeks ago.
Oh.
Scrolling. Sorry, I have to find it. Just talk amongst yourselves, Brian, please.
I love when we get a lot of text messages. 440-546-2255. 440-546-2255.
I'll just type it in. Guys.
Yeah, so much of our content can come from
Here it
the
is.
text messages that people send in.
Oh, yeah.
That Lauren can struggle to actually find the one that she wanted to.
She's got it. I found it.
Fine.
I texted a few weeks back about how I hated my work and I felt like I was working my life away. Yeah. I'm happy to announce that God has helped me a lot. Work hasn't changed, but God has given me the strength I needed. I've been able to share the gospel in depth with a few of my coworkers, and now I'm enjoying my work life.
Amen.
That is awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. If you've texted us in the past or called us and said, "Hey, I've got this issue," if there's an update, please let us know because we love to hear about them.
And if you want to hear that conversation, because we had it on a Follow-Up Friday, it's one of our podcasts.
Text podcast to 440-546-2255.
Daria curates those for us, isn't that the right
Correct.
word?
I do.
Cultivates and curates organic, free-range podcasts for you. 440-546-2255. It is a Follow-Up Friday. We were running behind before, so we're going to get caught up by taking a quick break right now.
Pursue your passion toward shepherding, teaching, and ministry leadership with a Master of Divinity from Moody Online. You'll study systematic theology, pastoral practices, develop your skills in preaching and teaching, and be equipped to analyze Scripture through the lens of the original Hebrew and Greek texts. Take classes when and how it's most convenient for you with our flexible online option. Get started today at moody.edu/online.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Claire from Trinity Debt Management. I'm a counselor, and the reason that I love working for Trinity is because I get to help folks with one of the hardest problems a family can face, and that's financial difficulties. In this day and age, everything is going up. You have higher utilities, higher grocery bills, higher fuel, and those credit card interest rates have gone up as well. We can help you with that. We can help you get lower interest rates, lower monthly payments. In just a few minutes, we put together a plan that gets you out of debt and keeps you out of debt. I love my job. It's a great program and a very smart way to find debt relief.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-659-9838.
I'm Claire, a Trinity counselor. Call me and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-659-9838.
1 billion people. That's how many live in isolated areas far from a road, or food, or healthcare. Who's reaching them? Missionary pilots, that's who. And many of the world's missionary pilots are trained at Moody.
Flight instruments are set.
But it's an expensive program with planes, engines, tools, and tech. Your gift will help missionaries around the world reach the 1 billion without roads.
Visit moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland. Looking at today's issues through a biblical perspective.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
8:24 on WCRF. It's Follow-Up Friday, where you get to choose the topic for us to discuss, and whether it's revisiting a topic or not from the week. 440-546-2255. 440-546-2255. One of the ones I wanted to touch on again, because some great comments came in on this. Relevant Magazine had a piece called "The Bible Never Says Don't Feel Sad. Let's Stop Acting Like It Does." And it has to do with, I think, toxic positivity is another way to put that.
Sure.
There are people who insist that you're a Christian, therefore everything is good. Good as in positive, happy, you should be happy about it.
I think you should tell your story, your example that you gave. I think that really plays it out.
What was it again?
Christians should never have a bad year.
Oh, yeah. Outside of the pandemic, 2020 was a very terrible year for me for reasons that are none your business, as they say.
Yes.
And I was really feeling it. And we had somebody at the station who's a believer, and we were chatting in the little kitchen here. And I don't remember whether I said I had a rough year or it's been a rough year. And the person said something like, well, if you're a believer, you can't have a bad year. There's no such thing. You're a Christian, you're saved.
Nothing can be bad because
Nothing can be bad because you're saved. And I wanted to punch the person, but most people could hurt me really bad in return.
Yeah,
so.
with just like a gust of wind.
Pick you up.
Yeah,
and I didn't even know what to say because I was so dumbfounded.
I'm really sorry.
And that's similar to one of the comments we got. Check this out. Somebody wrote to us and said, I had babies 1, 3, and 5, and my husband was extremely ill in the hospital. And I said, YLT?
I said to my mother-in-law.
Oh, I said to my mother-in-law that it was a nightmare. Okay, so...
Sounds like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have 3 babies, basically. Your husband's extremely ill in the hospital, and you say, wow, this is a nightmare. And to which your mother-in-law chastised her because she's a Christian and it's God's will.
Man, am I sorry that happened to you.
Yeah. That is horrible.
Don't say that to people.
So mother-in-law's theology is everything's happy. Like, it's the Lego movie. Her mother-in-law believes the Bible's the Lego movie. Everything is awesome. Your husband's in the hospital. You have 3 babies. Everything. That's so rude, and it's not even accurate. I get so wound up when that happens to people because it's so offensive.
Yeah, I just said this off the air in relation to something else, but it really frustrates me and kind of boggles my mind that people can't understand that 2 things can be true at once. You can have joy because you are saved, and life can still be hard. Because life is hard. I mean, it is the hardest thing you will ever do, and you can take solace in the fact that someday the struggles are going to end and you'll be with Jesus forever. But right now, it's very, very hard, and it's okay that things are hard, and it's okay to acknowledge that things are hard.
Yeah, I don't get it either, Daria. I don't understand it, and this draws back to our previous discussion about, I think, an overly simplified view in the modern world of children. So the conversation will go like this. Lauren has 2 small children. She might say, last night was horrible. In fact, the last year has been horrible. No sleeping, crying, dirty diapers. And somebody will go, whoa, 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 hold it. Bible says children are a blessing. What are you complaining about? What? Like, there's people who believe that the phrase that children are a blessing, which they are.
Right.
Means that it's the Lego movie. Everything's awesome. Nothing bad can happen. You can't be upset. You can't be frustrated. Life can't be hard because children are a blessing. Whoa, that's not what that means even. Certainly, in the big scheme of things, it's a blessing. But it is okay for it to be hard. This is like Daria's saying. 2 things can coexist. And you can't use that idea of a blessing as a weapon against people.
No. Try reading the Psalms sometime.
Yeah.
If you think everything's good for the people who have been chosen by God, and try to figure out why David is so melancholy so often. Things are not good. He's being chased by his sons and people, they love him one time and then they hate him the next time, and it's not all good.
I mean, we talked about Job earlier. God chastises Job for questioning him. He does not chastise Job for mourning the loss of his children.
Yeah. You idiot. What are you sad about?
I exist. You should not cry.
And then Lauren's favorite, right? The nap and a snack.
Yeah. He needed a nap and a snack.
Right?
Yeah, Elijah. He needed a nap and a snack.
He was like, what's the point of all this you had me do? Life is horrible. Why don't I just die? And God didn't say, what do you mean? Everything's awesome. It's the Lego movie, Elijah.
Yeah. God says, you need a nap and a snack.
Yeah.
Twice he did that, actually.
Yeah.
And then Elijah felt a bit better.
Yeah. Travis brought up James 1, counting it all joy. It says, "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow, for when your endurance is fully developed, you will be perfect and complete, needing nothing."
Yeah.
So that's not count it all joy because it is joyful. It's count it all joy because you're going to be tested. You're going to face trials.
It'll help you grow.
Yeah, be joyful because it's going to help you grow and be more like Christ, not because the circumstance is joyful.
Yeah, it doesn't say like every circumstance.
Right, yeah. It's count it all as joy. Don't just like it.
As in that phrase I use a lot, pain is God's invitation to grow. My counselor told me. It's very true.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say pain is God's invitation to grow. So like it. Like the pain, lean into it, ask for more.
And in my experience, it's often not till you're past the pain that you can see where God has taken you and how you've grown closer to Him.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that God has allowed me to see this and has brought me through and has allowed our relationship to blossom. But I'm still not happy that I had to go through that.
Yeah. Theologian Gigi just texted me.
Ooh.
This is Lauren's mother.
My kids call her Gigi.
Listens from Chicago.
Yes.
She's fantastic. One of our number one fans.
Yes.
Trying to get her on the show. Lauren refuses.
She was already once.
Again.
Oh, okay.
There were children in the room. We need pure, unfiltered 3 hours of Gigi on a Friday.
She said, there are more psalms of lament than there are of praise and thanksgiving.
Good point.
Gigi has
Mic
spoken.
drop. Yeah.
But for whatever reason, people just take this simplistic view of things that, I don't know, Daria, it's, to your point, it is maddening. Like the nuance has disappeared. Nuance is gone. It's one or the other. No.
And also, there should be things in this life that grieve us and make us sad. You know why? Because this is not a perfect life. This is a sin-ridden life, sin-ridden world.
There'd be no point of heaven.
We are east of Eden. We were kicked out of Eden, the perfect place, the perfect life, the perfect communion with God. We are living in sin-ridden world, and it should grieve us that we've lost our perfect bodies. It should grieve us that we've lost perfect relationship. It should grieve us that we've lost communion with God in that way. There are things to grieve. You should say, my husband is sick and that's not right. It's not right because this is not how it's supposed to be. This is not how it's supposed to be. And I grieve that. It should be perfect. My husband should be healthy and we should be able to commune together all of the time. But that's not how it is. And that should grieve you.
Yeah. Well said. It's 8:32. We have to take a break. Still more time for Follow-Up Friday. 440-546-2255.
How about this? Some actual good news on the healthcare front, even as costs just keep skyrocketing. So if you're 65 or older, MediShare now offers MediShare 65 Plus. Call them. You can talk to them about this. A lot of people are taking advantage of this now because even if you have Medicare Parts A and B, you know there are out-of-pocket things, deductibles and copays that just keep going up. And the whole point is to help you by giving you a low, consistent monthly payment that fills in the gaps. In fact, I can tell you how much MediShare 65 Plus is. For example, it's $99 a month up to age 75. It keeps costs under control. That helps with peace of mind. MediShare is trusted too. It's been around for 30 years, and it's a community of people who help each other. Business owners, retirees, pastors, teachers. People love being part of it. Here's the number you can call now. They are easy to talk to. Call 833-59-SHARE. That's 833-59-SHARE. 833-59-SHARE.
Brian's third grade teacher left us a voicemail.
Please record your message.
I always thought that Brian would be a circus performer or a radio host. At least I got one right.
It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
.38. It's Mornings with Brian, live from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studios. Whether it's your faith or your health, you don't have to journey alone. Friday song coming up here in about 20 minutes from Jason Champion, Cleveland's own Jason Champion. And for now, it's Follow-Up Friday, where you, for the remaining moments of the show, can set the topic, drop a comment in by call or text, 440-546-2255. We had another first-time texter! Woo! We're going to send you free stuff.
We're going to send you stuff. I'll reach out to you.
That has like our name on it. It's not just, again, random free stuff.
Has your name on it.
Oh, mine. Yeah. Not you listening.
No.
Well, just yours, not the four of us.
Well, I mean, depends on how you look at it.
We are Mornings with Brian.
That sounds so philosophical, but it's true. Yeah.
We still use your name when you're not here, so I guess it counts.
Yeah. See?
They were just thanking us for talking about Christian values. So that's exciting. And Brian, get ready for this.
I'm ready. Maybe.
The teens are coming for us today.
What?
The teens.
They're usually coming after me at home. I don't.
Well, they're coming for you here today.
Wow. Are they mad at me?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
Oh, good.
The first said, maybe we need to understand the difference between happiness and joy. Money can buy happiness, but money can't buy joy. I think of happiness as a roller coaster.
Was a teenager?
Yeah.
Yes.
Very good.
Good
Wow.
insight.
The teens. And then we have another first-time texter.
Hey! A teenager first-time texter.
Yes. Jax has been listening since he was 10. He's now 14.
Send him some. What are the kids doing now? Jelly bracelets, hula hoops. What's
have
the
none of
Hula hoops. We don't have Mornings with Brian hula hoops.
nothing for the teens? Do we have
No,
a
we'll send them stuff. But they also said they met you at a Live Fest last year.
life-changing? I'm sure.
Pretty
Maybe not.
lackluster.
That was a little dusty in there, and I was tired.
But Jax said, some people prefer to just look on the bright side and ignore the bad things that happen and skip through life with rainbows and puppies. The truth is, bad things happen. But if you have faith in Jesus, then you know that the pain you're going through will eventually end and you'll be in paradise.
Very good.
Good insight again.
I find it fascinating that these very young people have, in my opinion, figured out more than a lot of the older people that have been texting us in about, well, if you've got Jesus, then you can't have a bad day.
Compare that to, again, the text we got. Lady had 3 children, 1, 3, and 5. Husband is extremely ill in the hospital and said, wow, this is a nightmare, to her mother-in-law. At which point her mother-in-law, instead of talking about the pain of life and how, all this, said, it chastised her. She goes, you're a Christian. This is God's will. Essentially, like it.
Yeah.
What? Huh? All right. Teenagers, it's teen day. It's teen night.
Are we going to do a lock-in?
Did you guys ever do lock-ins?
Yeah. Big on the lock-ins.
You
for
were
me.
a fan of the lock-in.
No. No. It was like a big during my era of youth group.
Oh, yeah. But
I went to like other churches' lock-ins, my churches.
do they do lock-ins anymore? They, as in anyone.
Yeah. I've not heard
Do
of
the
one.
churches do lock-ins anymore?
I had a lock-in at my middle school. My middle school did a lock-in for the entire 7th grade.
Yeah.
Whose horrible idea was that?
Wow.
I was
feel
drinking
so bad for the chaperones.
I know.
Drinking a lot of Monster Energies, I remember. Just zipping around.
I remember going to it because I thought that's what you should do. But I've never been a fan of not sleeping. Ever.
Yeah, I never pulled like an all-nighter in college. I was strictly in bed, latest 11. I'm going. I gotta sleep.
Yeah, no, I was usually the first person to go to sleep at a sleepover. I get weird. I start feeling really ill.
I get weird
if I stay up too late.
Guys, we're gonna do a lock-in because we got to see Dory Weird.
No, I'm going to bed. You don't get to see that.
And Brian would be just mean. Probably he'd be like hangry and grumpy.
Yeah, well, I mean, Sarah will say to me occasionally, hey, we got a bunch of teens coming over tonight to hang out at the house. And then I'll like get wide-eyed and she goes, don't worry. She's like,
she's making me stay up.
I'm planning on staying up, Brian. You do not. And then I try really hard.
And you make it to 9:30?
On the weekends, Brian goes to bed at 10, but still wakes up at 10 a.m.
It shows you how sleep-deprived I am, Lauren.
It's a sleepy guy.
Or I just need that much beauty sleep. Who knows?
Jack sent a picture. Look at your hair, Brian.
Oh, wow. It was really long then.
I think you should bring it back.
I don't have time for that.
How long does it take to brush another half inch?
I gave up. I'm done with hair.
Well, talk to Ron about that.
I mean, Ron.
Right.
Do you spend a lot of time stressing about how your hair looks?
No.
And I wanted to join that club, okay?
Jack says they do, lock-ins are still a thing, so.
Oh.
Yeah, I've never liked them. I don't understand why people like them.
I liked them.
Why did you like that?
I don't know.
Although I will say it was my musical performance debut.
Okay.
In a like
At
more
lock-in?
casual sense. I'm not talking about like a band concert. That doesn't count.
Mm-hmm.
We formed a band for the 7th grade lock-in.
Okay.
And the kids thought it was pretty great. One of our big hits at the time that we did, we decided to bring out a song called Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Oh.
By Nirvana. It was a very big hit. We were the entertainment. Why aren't you impressed? I'm feeling like this is falling flat.
It is.
It was big time.
Your perception is correct.
Man, Ron, did they do lock-ins in the olden days?
I don't remember lock-ins per se, but we had, campouts or things like that.
Yeah, when you were a kid, all the parents would say, and this is what no one ever talks about. Explain this to me. Everyone talks about how hard, like mothering. It's hard. I raised kids, but for an entire era, mothering was stay at home, look at your kids and say, get out of this house, and I don't want to see you again until it's dark.
And they're cleaning the home with no air conditioning, so they're sweating like crazy. They don't have a lot of the instant foods that we have today. And
correct.
They were canning the preserves from the garden.
But where does this, you must have one-on-one time with your kids or you're a terrible parent come from? Like all the attention Lauren's supposed to give her kids? Like she can't, if she looked at her kids and said, get out of this house and don't ever come back until it's dark out, she'd be arrested.
Oh, yeah. There's moms today who are like, I won't even let my kids go outside without me being there. Like, I won't even watch them from inside the window.
Sarah had a short time where she went to this sort of daycare when she was mid-elementary school. The rule was you can't come inside.
Inside the daycare? The children weren't allowed inside the daycare? Yeah,
the older kids were like, you stay out there.
Wow.
But they were paid for this. I just feel like sometimes it's rose-colored glasses, Ron. My mom played a lot of video games and talked on the phone for a long time. God bless her. She worked hard too, but.
Yeah. Well, my mom was working. She literally was doing the books for my dad's company at home. So if we came in, we were going to interrupt her train of thought, all of that. So stay out.
And you liked it.
Yeah. We had, a couple of acres of our land, and then there was farmland that was just fields at that point.
And you were in Eastwood, and Eastwood's in Medina.
Big time.
Yeah, big time bunch. Someone told us this.
Yeah.
And you deny it. I don't know what.
Well.
He's a humble man.
Yeah. I would be flying a kite in the field. It wasn't like someone else came and got the kite up in the air. Here you go, sir.
Well, no. But they were whispering about you. Look, it's in Eastwood. From Eastwood Excavating.
Spotted in the wild.
440-546-2255. Just a few minutes left. Last chance to get a topic in. 440-546-2255.
Moody Radio is thankful for listeners and support from businesses like Duma Meats and Farm Market. Duma Meats and Farm Market supporting Moody Radio in Cleveland and surrounding areas. More information about Duma Meats and Farm Market is at dumameats.com.
Today, there is a disciple-making church planting movement that's taken root in 40 countries around the world. It's called the Timothy Initiative, and its mission is to see a healthy church planted in every village, everywhere. Since 2007, over 200,000 churches have been planted through the work of the Timothy Initiative, but there's more work to be done. Take your place in the Timothy Initiative. Go to ttiglobal.org.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland. From 6 to 9 a.m. Let's dive in.
We're going to club at the last part of the show here.
Not the first time.
Clubbing. Is that what they call that, Lauren?
I guess.
Whenever I see that on TV, I go, people like this? That seems horrible. I'd rather go to bed.
Yeah, there's too many people.
It's too loud.
I vividly remember the last, I guess you call it dance party I went to when I was in college. I looked at Jimmy. We were dating at the time. I said, I don't like this. We're leaving. I was like 21.
A bunch of people looking at us going, you're a bunch of losers. And Lauren's not commenting. We're just going to leave it there. Okay. You were mentioning, we were talking about childhood, and I got to bring this up because it's such a...
Yes, sure.
Even though we're different generations, I think people will remember this in a very vivid way. You had a habit as a young kid while your mom was at work.
Yes. My mom went back to work when I was in kindergarten. I have two older sisters. And once I got into middle school, my sisters could take care of me. They were old enough to take care of me. They were in middle school and high school. I had a pretty bad habit of calling my mom far too often at work.
Oh.
You got to do the impression of it. It's my favorite.
So she worked at the Chamber of Commerce in our town. And so I'd call, they'd be like, hi, blah, 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 Chamber of Commerce. Like, hi, can I talk to Kay? I tried to act like I wasn't a child calling my mom.
Kay, please. Kay Downey.
Is Kay Downey there?
And then why were you calling? Was there a fire? Was there
dumb stuff like Melissa's being mean to me? Yeah. Melissa won't let me do this. She said I can't do that. When are you gonna come home? What's for dinner?
What would your mom do?
Just like chill. She'd be like, okay, it's fine.
I'm working.
I'll be home at 4 or whatever.
Yeah, kids these days don't know what it's like to call your parents at work. I remember I had
Yeah, you just call them on their cell phone. No, I had to call my mom at the Chamber of Commerce.
I remember getting in a minor fender bender as a teenager, and my parents were out to eat with friends. I had to call the restaurant.
Yeah.
Could you please go find my parents? They're somewhere in your restaurant and tell them I've been in an accident. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Well, that's what it used to be.
I remember
right?
I think I was about 14 and some friends of mine had called and said, hey, we're going to go to the pool. We'll pick you up. Would you like to come? And I was not sure if I was allowed to go. So I called my mom at work and she was not answering. And so I called probably 20 times just hoping that she would
my
answer.
gosh.
And I was panicking. And at one point, because I'm like, I want to go, but I don't know if my mom will let me. So at one point, because I called so many times, one of her coworkers picked up. And I hung up because I got scared. And then finally my mom called back. She's like, yes, you can go, obviously. And then she told her coworkers what happened, and they all had a good laugh. Like, I would have told her she could go.
Did I ever tell you about my prank call fail with a buddy?
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
I know I've told Ron this. I've told him every story I've ever experienced.
Pretty much.
I'm at a buddy's house back when you can prank call people, which I don't ever advocate. It was sinful for us to do that. I repent.
But we all did it.
And so you just like pick up the touch-tone phone. In Ron's day, the rotary phone, you randomly dial something, and then the stupid joke is, hey, is your refrigerator running? What? Yes. Why don't you go catch it? And that's the nice version. I had a buddy, we were doing this, and he grabs his phone and he goes, I got one. Beep, 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 beep. Hands me the phone. And somebody answers, and I said something dumb. I don't know what it was. Like, oh, is your refrigerator running? Brian? I was like,
no!
Hi, Mom. It was my mom. He called my house, and I didn't know it. And so I prank called my mom. I don't think she remembers that, but I was horrified. The kid was laughing so hard, and I was like, yeah, you should. I deserve this. What an epic move, huh?
Yeah, that's funny.
You get deep into it, and you dial the person's own phone number.
Someone texted us about lock-ins. We had a lock-in with our youth group. I got so tired. I'm a mother to an elementary school kid that I snuck into the nursery and laid down on a daycare cot and fell asleep. A few of the other leaders started to wrap me in toilet paper when I woke up.
Oh, yeah. See, I've been asked a couple of times to do, hey, you want to come to the youth retreat?
No, really?
No. Youth don't sleep. Yeah. I mean, I remember I took my kids once to we tried joining some like civic organization like for kids or whatever. It was a secular thing, like a club, like a Boy Scouts kind of thing. Take the kids to this like weekend away. First of all, we had to drive to Pennsylvania. I'm not happy. They had fun. I spent most of the evening thinking, when will I be able to go to bed? And finally at midnight, elementary kids all giggling and laughing. It's like, oh, Lord, rescue me. And my prayers were like, Lord, make them fall asleep. I'm so tired. Oh, yeah. I don't volunteer for that stuff or for anything much, really.
You're on the board at Summit Christian Schools.
I volunteer for that, yeah.
Yeah, you do that.
And that's not at night.
No,
it's in
it's
the
afternoon.
afternoon. No, afternoon.
Yeah. Daytime. That's the daytime.
That's a problem I've run into. Everything I want to do is starts at 7 p.m. It's like, guys, I'm well on my way to bed by then.
Yeah, I got it nights.
I actually tried to join a Bible study at church, and literally after the first meeting, I said, I can't do this. It's too late.
Yeah, but that's the problem with our schedules where we're up so early and go to bed early. Everything starts in the evening. No. It's like, hey, you want a double date? We'll start at 7 p.m. No, I'd rather not. Could we start at 4?
I remember when I first took this job, I came for my first full week in person, and we went to dinner at like 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have dinner.
I'll meet you at this place at 4.
We have dinner at 5, like an elderly couple.
It's
I'm
great.
exhausted after.
You gotta have the wine down, the cleanup and the wine down.
No waiting at restaurants when you go early.
'Tis true.
And then I always negotiate how early I can have lunch. That's the thing. And when people want to meet for
yesterday,
lunch,
you had lunch at like 9:05.
Pretty close.
It was.
But no, people want to, hey, Brian, let's meet for lunch. Sure, no problem.
How about 11?
How does 11 sound? And some
They're like,
restaurants
"How
don't
about
open till 11:30.
1?"
Yeah, they want to eat at 1. No.
Mm-mm.
Brian's eating at 11, and he's doing you a favor.
1 is my afternoon snack.
Yes, as a matter of fact. Or sometimes second lunch. We're hobbits, really.
Yeah, we need to get the hobbit schedule going.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's first breakfast, second breakfast, 11sies.
11sies.
Because I try
And
to.
then you've got lunch, dinner, supper. There's a snack in the middle
Gotta have
there somewhere,
afternoon
too.
tea. I try to keep a somewhat normal schedule, so I snack a lot, so I can make it to
dinner.
somewhat normal meal times.
What's your go-to snack, Daria? Go.
Right now it's peanuts.
Dry roasted?
I've got like this mix with
Salted?
almonds and cranberries.
Oh.
A mix.
Go-to snack, Lauren. Hit it.
Oh my gosh. Usually fruit. Whatever fruits
You
I
two
have
are
for the week.
so healthy. Like what, you're having
Oranges.
an apple?
Yeah, orange, banana, apple.
That's a really healthy choice, Lauren.
Thank you.
That's so good of you.
We're also currently into some granola bars called Made Good bars.
Oh.
They're top 10 allergy free. Very good.
Very nice. Ron, do you snack?
Yes.
Go-to snack, cold pizza.
If
I love a
it's
cold
in the
pizza.
fridge, yeah.
I love a cold pizza.
Whatever's in the snack drawer could be any kind of chips, Doritos,
There it
the
is.
Edos family.
Yeah. And then there's the wall with the various
Doritos.
cookie jars.
Tostitos.
I
Fritos.
visit them. Fritos, that's a good choice too.
Fritos and a chili.
Yeah, I
That's
don't.
top tier.
I'm a little embarrassed, but like a bowl of chips.
That's your snack?
Yeah. You're over here having fruit. She's over there having dried cranberries, and I'm and I don't know what it is. It's kind of embarrassing. I've been into.
I didn't say I don't like chips. I'm a big chip guy.
Well,
I
yeah,
wouldn't
but you're
put
making
them in
a
a bowl. I just grab the bag.
I'm trying to that's my way of making it healthy.
Portion size,
I'm
portion control.
limiting the
Yeah.
portion. Yeah, but I've been doing tortilla chip rounds, just plain.
No salsa or guacamole?
Yeah, what
You
am
gotta
I-
put some guac or something
Salsa.
on there.
What's wrong
Nothing?
with me? I know I'm
no
embarrassed.
salsa, no guacamole, no dips
Nothing.
of any kind.
I'm embarrassed that I've done this.
I eat the chips
should
for
be.
the dip.
Well,
I'm not eating chips for chips. I'm eating chips for dip.
You like lick off the dip and then
Correct.
dip again.
Mango salsa.
It's like that
Shove it down my
candy
gullet.
fun dip.
Yeah, exactly. It's about the sugar, not the little stick.